In Excel, you can include hyperlinks in your worksheets to connect to websites, email, or other files. Once inserted, a hyperlink can be removed if you no longer need it, without affecting the content it's linking to. In this video, you'll learn how to insert hyperlinks for emails, websites, and documents so you can access those from Excel. I'd like to insert different types of links into my worksheet. Into cell C4, I want to insert an email link. To do this, I'll first select that cell and type in the email address, and if I select outside the cell, the email address has been automatically converted into a hyperlink. To edit this email hyperlink, right-click on it, and from the shortcut menu, select the option Edit Hyperlink. An Edit Hyperlink dialog box opens, and the email address tab at the bottom left corner is selected. At the top center, I can modify the text that is displayed. I'll click inside this field and replace the email address with my name, Julia Campbell. Below this, I can change or verify the email address. Note that mail to and a colon must be included before the email address in order to activate your default email client when you click on the link. Next, you have the option to add a subject line, which will be included when you select the link and the email template opens. To save the changes I made, click the OK button at the bottom right and note that the hyperlink text that's displayed has now changed to my full name. If I select the email hyperlink, my default email client Outlook then opens, displaying a new email message with the email address automatically inserted into the to field. Close this window by clicking the X icon at the top right, then delete the saved draft by clicking the No button at the bottom of the pop-up message. Another type of link you can add is a website link. Select cell D4. There are two ways to insert a link. One way is to copy and paste it into the cell, or another way is to switch to the Insert tab. On the right of the ribbon, go to the Links toolset and click the Link button. The Insert Hyperlink dialog box opens. At the top left, switch to the existing file or web page tab. Click inside the Text to Display field at the top center and type out the text you want shown. Then at the bottom center, click inside the address field, and I'll paste in a web address I copied earlier by pressing Ctrl+V. If this is an address you've used recently, you can click the drop-down button on the right, and you'll see a list of recently used websites. To insert the website hyperlink, click the OK button at the bottom right. Lastly, you can also insert a file hyperlink. First, I'll select cell E4, then from the Insert tab, click the Link drop-down button in the Links toolset. A menu displays showing a list of recent files I'd accessed. You can click on a file from this menu to insert a hyperlink of the file into the selected cell. Click Away to close this. Another way to do this is to right-click on the cell, and from the shortcut menu hover over the arrow next to the option link to open the flyout menu, where again is a list of my recently accessed files. If the document you're searching for isn't in this list, at the bottom is the option Insert Link. Click this, and the Insert Hyperlink dialog box opens. At the top left, make sure the existing file or web page tab is selected. Here, in the center, you can browse for files on your computer. From here, I'll select the Contact folder, then from this folder's list, I'll select the file Contact Information. At the top, click inside the Text to Display field and type out the text you want shown. To insert the file hyperlink, click the OK button at the bottom. I can then select the file link in my worksheet, and the Excel document opens in another Excel window. Close this by clicking the X icon at the top right. To remove a hyperlink, right-click on the link. Scroll down the shortcut menu and select the option Remove Hyperlink, and the hyperlink formatting is removed, but the text to display still remains. To remove the text, select the cell and press the Delete key on your keyboard, and cell E4 is now empty. If I select a cell with a hyperlink in it, then press the Delete key, both the hyperlink and the text are deleted. But note that the hyperlink formatting remains active in this cell. For example, if I now start typing some text into this cell, you can see that the text is underlined and in blue, indicating it's a hyperlink. In order to remove this, you'll need to clear the formatting from the cell. This has been an overview on inserting a hyperlink in Excel. Excel worksheets can be illustrated with images saved on your computer or retrieved from an online source. You can even access a Bing Power Directory directly from the Excel application. In this video, you'll explore how to insert images into Excel. To insert an image stored on your computer, first switch to the Insert tab. On the left of the ribbon, expand the Illustrations drop-down. From the menu select the Pictures drop-down, and from the Insert Picture from menu, select the option This device. My File Explorer window then opens where I can browse for my image file. On the left, I'll click the Pictures folder and select the profile image, then click the Insert button at the bottom right. That window closes, and my selected image has been inserted into the Excel worksheet. I can now adjust the size of the image to better fit my worksheet. One way to do this is to hover the mouse over one of the handles on the outer perimeter of the image. When your cursor changes to a double-headed arrow, you can drag your mouse outwards to increase the image's size, or drag it inwards to reduce it. If your image is quite large, you can also resize it from the Picture Format tab that appears at the top of the Tools ribbon when an image is inserted. On the far right of this tab is a Size tool set. From here, you can modify the height and width of your image. First, I'd like to move my picture's position. Hover over the image, and when your mouse cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, you can click and drag the image to a new location in your worksheet. For example, I can modify the width using the arrows on the right of the width field, or I can click inside the field and type in, for example, 5, then press the Enter key to apply it. Note that the height of the image has also automatically adjusted. When you modify either the height or width, the other will automatically adjust to keep the aspect ratio constant. To insert an image file from an online source, first switch back to the Insert tab. Again, click the Illustrations drop-down, click the Pictures drop-down, and from the Insert Picture from menu, select the option Online Pictures. An Online Pictures window opens. At the top is a Bing search bar to search for images using key terms, and below are various categories to search for images in. To search for an online image, click inside the search bar and I'll type in the key term house logo, then press the Enter key to search. The window refreshes, and now displays images matching my search criteria. At the top left is now a Filter button. Click this, and from the menu you can choose to filter the search results based on size, type, layout, or color. For example, from the Size section at the top, I'll apply the filter Medium. The search results once again refresh to only show house logos that are the image size medium. To insert this image at the top left, first select it. Note that you can choose to insert multiple images simultaneously. If I select another image, you'll see at the bottom right in the Insert button is the number 2, meaning 2 images have been selected. To unselect an image, simply click on it again. To insert the one image I've selected, click the Insert button at the bottom right. Once you've inserted your image, again if you need to resize it, you can go to the Size toolset in the Picture Format tab, and for example, click inside the Height field and I'll type in 2, then press Enter to apply the size. And I can again reposition it within my worksheet using the drag and drop feature. Now, depending on the image you've selected, you may have sourced copyright information located below the image that you'll have to copy and paste into your worksheet. Now, if you'd like to remove an image that you've inserted, you can select it and then press the Delete key on your keyboard, and that image is no longer displayed in my worksheet. This has been an overview on inserting images in Excel. Sometimes images inserted into Excel need to be edited to improve their appearance. You can modify the color and artistic effect, or even apply a picture style. And if you're not happy with the changes, you can reset the picture. In this video, you'll discover how to edit an image in Excel. In my worksheet, I have 2 images inserted. To adjust an image, first select the image to activate the Picture Format tab. Click that tab, and on the left of the ribbon is the Adjust toolset, where you can remove the image's background, apply corrections, adjust the color, apply artistic effects or transparency. You can also compress, change, or reset the image. Click the Corrections drop-down, and in this menu you have the options to sharpen or soften, or to change the brightness or contrast. Note that when you hover over an option, you can see a preview of the effect applied to your image. From the Sharpen/Soften section, I'll select the Sharpen by 50% option on the right, and that effect is now applied to my image. Next, I'll click the Color drop-down, and from the menu I can adjust the color saturation, tone, or I can recolor. From the Color Tone section, I'll select the option Temperature 7200K. Click the Artistic Effects drop-down, and in the menu are various effects you can apply. Note again that when you hover over an option, you can see a preview of it applied. I'll select the effect Crisscross Etching. Click the Transparency drop-down, and in the menu you have different transparency percentage options. This tool is useful if you want your image to appear in front of another image in your worksheet. I'll apply the Transparency 15% option. I'll select the second image in my worksheet. Another way to make your image stand out is by adding a border. To do this, from the Picture Format tab, go to the Picture Styles toolset in the center of the ribbon. Here you have a Picture Styles menu. Hovering your mouse over the thumbnail options allows you to see a preview of the styles applied. To access the full gallery of options, click the More button on the right of the menu. Once you find a style that you'd like to apply, you can select it and you'll see that style applied to your selected image. On the right of the Picture Styles toolset are also options to modify the picture border, apply picture effects, or change the picture layout. If you have multiple images on top of each other within your worksheet, for example, if I drag and drop this first image over my second image so that they overlap, I can then change the arrangement of these images. On the right of the Picture Format tab is the Arrange toolset. From here, you can choose to bring the selected image forward to place it in front of the other image, or click the Send Backward button to put it behind the other image. Now, if you have added multiple effects to an image and you'd like to reset that image back to its default, you can do that by first selecting that image, then from the Adjust toolset on the left of the ribbon, you have a Reset Picture button. You can either click this button to reset the image, or you can click its drop-down button to open the menu with the options to reset the picture or to reset both the picture and its size. I'll select the Reset Picture option, and this has returned my image back to its original settings. This has been an overview on editing an image in Excel. If there's information in another application that you want to add into Excel, you can insert a screen clipping of the data displayed on the screen. In this video, you'll learn how to insert screenshots in Excel, as well as take a screen clipping directly from the application. I'd like to insert a screenshot into my Excel worksheet. Both Excel and the application you want to screenshot must be open before doing this. I'm going to go down to the taskbar and click the PowerPoint app icon, and a PowerPoint presentation opens. Once I know this PowerPoint window is open, in order to take a screenshot of this application, I'll click the Excel icon in the taskbar, then switch to the Insert tab. On the left of the ribbon, click the Illustrations drop-down, and on the right of the menu, click on Screenshot. A drop-down menu opens displaying the available windows I have open. So here I can see the PowerPoint app window I opened earlier. Select this, and a screenshot of that open program has now been inserted into my worksheet. You may need to move your screenshot to better see it. To do this, hover your mouse over it. When your cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, you can click and drag the screenshot to a new location. You also may want to resize your screenshot. For example, here my screenshot is too large. To reduce its size, I can click on one of the handles on the outer perimeter of the screenshot and then drag it inwards to reduce its size. I'll then click and drag the screenshot to the center of my worksheet. With the screenshot selected, a new tab called Picture Format appears in the Tools ribbon. On the right of this tab is the Size toolset, where you can manually change the height and width of the image, and on the left of this toolset is the Crop tool. Click the Crop button, and crop handles now appear on the outer perimeter of my screenshot. I can click and drag those handles inwards or outwards to resize the area. For example, I'll drag the handle inwards, and a portion of the screenshot on the left is now grayed out, indicating this area will be cropped out. To finish cropping, click the Crop button on the Tools ribbon, and my screenshot has now been cropped to a smaller size. Another way you can take a screenshot is to open up your web browser, so I'll go down to the taskbar and click the Edge browser icon. Here, I already have a web page open with a map that I'd like to screenshot. To do this, I'll click the Excel app icon in the taskbar, switch to the Insert tab and click the Illustrations drop-down. On the right of the menu, click the Screenshot button, and at the bottom of the drop-down menu is the option Screen Clipping. When you select Screen Clipping, whichever program that's opened behind Excel is brought forward. You will see that the screen is also now grayed out and that my mouse cursor has changed to a plus icon. From this window, click and drag your mouse over the area of the screen you want to screenshot. Once you're happy with the selected area, you can release the mouse click, and you'll be automatically navigated back to the Excel window, where a screenshot of the area you selected has been inserted into your worksheet. Again, I can click and drag the screenshot to a new location within my worksheet to better see it, and I can also resize it by clicking and dragging one of the outer perimeter handles inwards to reduce its size. Now, if you have a screenshot that you'd like to remove, all you need to do is select it, so I'll select the PowerPoint screenshot, and then press the Delete key on my keyboard, and that screenshot has now been deleted. This has been an overview on inserting screenshots in Excel. In Excel 365, shapes can be formed into diagrams to illustrate work processes and ideas. These shapes can be copied and grouped, as well as have text added to them. In this video, you'll explore how to insert shapes into Excel. In my worksheet, to insert a shape, first switch to the Insert tab. On the left of the Tools ribbon, click the Illustrations drop-down. On the right of the menu, click the Shapes drop-down to open a gallery of shape categories and options. At the top is the recently used shapes. You also have categories such as lines, rectangles, basic shapes, block arrows, equation shapes, flowchart, stars, and callouts. To insert a shape, select it from this menu. From the block arrow section, I'll select this pentagon arrow shape. The shape menu closes and my mouse cursor is now a plus icon. I can now use my cursor to insert the shape into the worksheet. Hold down the mouse, click and drag the cursor outwards to automatically adjust the size of the shape I'm inserting. Release the mouse, click to finish inserting the shape. Once inserted, you can resize the shape by selecting it, and then clicking and dragging the outer perimeter handles outwards to expand or inwards to decrease the shape size. You can also insert text into your shape. To do this, double-click the shape with your mouse, and a blinking cursor appears within the shape, indicating you can start typing your text. So I'll type in Zebra Sky Group. You can then adjust the font and font style of your shape's text. First, select the text by either using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+A, or click and drag your mouse over the text to highlight it. I can then either use the mini toolbar that appears to adjust my text, or I can switch back to the Home tab. From the Font toolset on the left of the ribbon, I'll click the Font Size drop-down and select the option 20. Then from the Alignment toolset to the right, I'll change the alignment of my text within my shape by selecting the option Middle Align and Center. So now my text is centered within my shape. If you want to use the same shape again, to save you from having to recreate it, you can copy the shape. To do this, select the shape, then use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+C to copy. Select the area where you want your shape inserted and press Ctrl+V to paste. I can then move my copied shape by hovering my mouse over it, and when the cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, click and drag the shape to the desired location. If you've inserted multiple shapes and you'd like to modify their style at the same time, you can group your shapes. To do this, first select a shape, hold down the Shift key, and then select all of the shapes that you'd like to group together. Once done, switch to the Shape Format tab, and on the right of the Tools ribbon, in the Arrange toolset, click the Group button, and from the drop-down menu select Group. My two selected shapes have now been grouped together, and a single set of handles displays around them. To then change the style of the group shapes, from the Shape Format tab go to the Shape Styles toolset on the left of the ribbon. From here, you can change the style, fill, outline or apply effects to your shapes. I'll click the More button on the right of the Shape Styles menu. You can hover your mouse over a style option to see a preview of it applied to your shape. From this menu, I'll select the style option Subtle Effect, Gold, Accent 4, and that's been applied to both shapes in my worksheet. Another advantage of grouping shapes together is that you can move them at the same time. So if I hover my mouse over one of the shapes, then click and drag it to another location, note that the second group shape also moves. If you'd like to ungroup your shapes, you can do that by selecting them, then go to the Arrange toolset and click the Group drop-down. From the menu, select Ungroup, and my shapes now display as individual objects. And if you'd like to remove a shape, you can select it, then press the Delete key on your keyboard, and that shape has been removed. This has been an overview on inserting shapes in Excel. Icons can be used as visual representations of the data in your Excel worksheet, without having to search for a suitable picture online. In this video, you'll discover how to insert, edit and group icons in Excel. To insert an icon into your worksheet, first switch to the Insert tab. On the left of the Tools ribbon, click the Illustrations drop-down. There are two ways to access icons. One way is to select Pictures. From the drop-down menu, choose Stock Images, and a new window then opens displaying stock images. At the top left, switch to the Icons tab to view the available icons. I'll close this window by clicking the Cancel button at the bottom right. Another way to access that window on the Icons tab is to click the Illustrations drop-down again, and from the menu select the option Icons. In this window, you can either choose an icon from the categories or list of options below, or you can search for a specific icon using the search bar at the top center. At the top center, I'll select the category Process. At the top left of the list of options, select this refresh icon, then click the Insert button at the bottom right, and that icon now appears in my worksheet. Note that you can insert multiple icons simultaneously. Switch back to the Insert tab, click the Illustrations drop-down again, and select Icons from the menu. Into the search bar at the top center, I'll type in Commerce, then press the Enter key to display icons relating to the key term Commerce. From the list of options, I'll select this dollar icon, then scroll down and select this price tag icon. Click the Insert button at the bottom right, and both those icons now appear in my worksheet. I can reposition my icons by hovering my mouse over one. When the cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, click and drag the icon to another location. To better see my other two icons, I'll do the same to them. When an icon is selected, you'll see handles on the outer perimeter of it. You can click and drag one of these handles outwards to increase the icon size, or drag it inwards to decrease the size. At the top center above the icon is a circular arrow symbol. This is the pivot tool. I can click this and move my cursor to the right to pivot the icon right, or click and drag to the left to pivot it left. And when you release your mouse click, you can see what your pivoted icon looks like. I'm quickly going to pivot the icon back to the center. When an icon is selected, you'll also notice that the Graphics Format tab automatically opens in the ribbon. On the left of this tab is a Graphic Styles toolset where you can change the style, fill, outline, or apply effects to your icons. I'll click the More button on the right of the Graphic Styles menu to see the full gallery of options, and from the menu choose the option Colored Fill Accent 2, Dark Outline 1, and that style has been applied to the selected icon. You can edit or apply styles to multiple icons simultaneously by grouping icons together. To do this, first select an icon, hold down the Shift key, and then select the icons you'd like to group. In the center of the Graphics Format tab, go to the Arrange toolset and click the Group button. From the drop-down menu, select the option Group. All three of my icons are now grouped. So now, for example, if I go to the Graphic Styles toolset, click the Graphics Fill drop-down and from the Theme Color section select the color Blue Accent 5, that fill color has now been applied to all three of my grouped icons. To ungroup the icons, first select one of the icons, then from the Arrange toolset click on Group, and from the menu select the option Ungroup. To remove an icon from your worksheet, first select it, then press the Delete key on your keyboard. This has been an overview on inserting icons in Excel. Excel 365 features a library of special characters not found on your keyboard, such as the copyright and registered trademark symbols. In this video, you'll learn how to insert special characters in Excel. To insert a symbol into my worksheet, first select the cell where you'd like it placed. I'll select cell D2, then I need to access the symbol library. Switch to the Insert tab, and on the far right of the Tools ribbon is the Symbols drop-down button. Click this, and from the menu select the option symbol. A symbol window opens, and the Symbols tab at the top left is selected. From this tab, you can browse for symbols, change the font style of the symbol, and change the subset. At the top left, I'll click the Font drop-down, scroll down the menu, and switch the font type to Arial. If you're looking for a particular type of symbol, click the subset drop-down and choose the category of symbol you're looking for. I'll select the option Letter-like symbols. Note that after changing the font and subset, the list of symbols below updates to match my set font and subset criteria. At the bottom of the window is a list of recently used symbols. If you use the same symbols frequently, you can navigate to this menu and select your specific symbol. From the Symbol menu, I'll select this trademark symbol, then click the Insert button at the bottom right. Then to see my inserted symbol, I'll close the symbol window by clicking the Close button at the bottom right, and that trademark symbol now appears in my selected cell. You can also insert special characters via the Symbols window. I'll first select cell F4, from the Insert tab, click the Symbols drop-down, and from the menu select Symbol. The Symbol window once again opens. At the top left, switch to the Special Characters tab. From here, you'll see a list of symbols on the left, with the description of them on the right-hand side. From this list, I'll select this copyright symbol, then click the Insert button at the bottom right. To see the inserted symbol, I'll close the Symbol window by clicking the Close button, and that specific symbol has been inserted into cell F4. Another way you can insert symbols is using keyboard shortcuts. First, I'll select cell F5, then go to the formula bar, and to the right of the text I'll insert an open parenthesis followed by the letter R, and then close the parentheses. Then, if I press the Enter key, a registered trademark symbol has now been placed in cell F5. As you can see, this is a quick way to insert specific symbols into your cells. To see a complete list of the special character keyboard shortcuts, also known as the Replace options. First, switch to the File tab. From the bottom of the File menu on the left, click on More, and from the side menu select Options. The Excel Options window opens. From the list of tabs on the left, switch to the Proofing tab. And from the top center of the Proofing menu, you'll find the Autocorrect Options button. Click this to open the Autocorrect window on the Autocorrect tab. At the bottom of this menu, you'll find the Replace With section, which contains a list of character entries and then the symbols that they replace. For example, I can see that the letter E within parentheses will produce a euro currency symbol, or that the letters TM within parentheses will be replaced with the trademark symbol. Knowing these special character keyboard shortcuts can save you a lot of time if these are symbols that you frequently use. Instead of going to the symbol library, you can use these keyboard shortcuts to insert a symbol. To leave the autocorrect menu, click the OK button at the bottom right, and close the Excel Options window by clicking the Cancel button at the bottom right. This has been an overview on inserting special characters in Excel. In Excel 365, colors can be used to highlight certain pieces of data. It can also make the worksheet easier to read. You can even change the text color or apply a table style. In this video, you'll learn how to add a fill color in Excel. In order to help my worksheet data stand out, I'm going to add some color. First, I'm going to change the fill color. To do this, I'll first select my title cell. Then from the Home tab on the left of the Tools ribbon is the Font toolset, where you'll find the Fill Color tool. Click this tool's drop-down button to open the full gallery of color options, such as Theme, Standard and more colors. Note that when you hover over a color option, you can see a preview of it applied to your selected cell. From the Theme Color section at the top, I'll select the blue, Accent 1 color, and that's now been applied to my title cell. Another way to access the Fill Color tool is via the Shortcut menu's mini toolbar. First, I'll select the cell range A2 to G2, right-click on the selection, and above the Shortcut menu, on the left of the mini toolbar is the Fill Color tool. Click this tool's drop-down, and I can access even more color options by clicking on More Colors at the bottom of the menu. A Colors window opens on the Standard tab, which displays a color wheel. You can choose a color from this wheel, or you can switch to the Custom tab at the top left, and then from here create your own color. On the left, drag your mouse over an area of color in the color chart. To the right of the chart, you can then change the hue and saturation of the selected color by dragging the arrow up or down the color scale. At the bottom right is a preview of your current color. Note also at the bottom of the menu, you can see the RGB color codes for your selected color. To apply this color, click the OK button at the top right, and that's been applied to my selected cell range. Now, as I've added a dark fill color to my header cells, the dark text that's applied is hard to see. To improve the contrast, I can change the text color. To do this, select the cell range, go to the Font toolset and click the Font Color drop-down. And in this menu, you have the same Theme, Standard and more colors options as previously shown. As a dark fill color is applied, from the Theme Color section, I'll select this white color option. My text now stands out against the dark background, thus making it easier to read. If you have a table inserted into your worksheet, you can change its color by applying a table style. To make the data in my worksheet a table, first select that cell range, then switch to the Insert tab and on the left of the Tools ribbon in the Tables toolset click the Table button. A Create Table dialog box opens, with the field containing the selected cell range. As my table has headers, I'll make sure the My Table Has Headers option at the bottom left is checked. To create a table using the selected range, click the OK button at the bottom. A new Table Design tab has now opened up at the top of the Tools ribbon. On the right of this tab is the Table Styles toolset, where you have a Table Styles menu. To access the full gallery of styles, click the More button on the right of the menu. In this gallery, the styles are divided into the categories Light, Medium and Dark. Note that hovering over a style option applies a preview of it to your table. From the Dark section, I'll select the Brown, Table Style Dark 3 option, and that style has now been applied to my table. This has been an overview on using colors in Excel. Excel 365 themes can be used to change the overall appearance of a workbook. These themes are also customizable. In this video, you'll discover how to apply themes in Excel. If I'd like to change the overall appearance of my worksheet, I can modify the theme. To access the Themes menu, switch to the Page Layout tab, and on the far left of the Tools ribbon is the Themes toolset. From here, click the Themes drop-down button. In the Themes menu, you'll find an array of different Office themes that you can apply to your worksheet. If I hover over the different theme options with my mouse, I'll see a preview of that theme applied. Once you find a theme that you like, you can select it to apply it. And note that when you apply a theme, the font, color and effects will be added or changed. If you'd like to customize the theme you've applied, on the right-hand side of the Themes toolset are the options to adjust the theme's colors, fonts and effects. Click the Colors drop-down, and in the menu is a list of different color schemes. I'll select the option Red, and that's been applied to my worksheet. To change the font of your theme, click the Fonts drop-down, and in the menu you have an array of different fonts that you can apply. Again, you can hover over the different font options, and you'll be able to see a preview of what they look like applied. I'll select the font option Georgia. My worksheet updates, and that font is now applied. To help your item stand out a bit more, you can also add effects to your theme. To do this, click the Effects drop-down, and in the menu is different effects you can apply. I'll select the Grunge Texture effect to apply it. Once you're done customizing your theme, you can save it to use it later. To do this, from the Themes toolset, click the Themes drop-down, and at the bottom of the menu is the option Save Current Theme. Click this and a Save Current Theme file explorer opens. From this window, choose a save location for your theme. On the left, I'll click the Themes folder. Once I've chosen the save location, I can rename my theme by selecting the file name field at the bottom center and typing in a new name. Then finish saving by clicking the Save button at the bottom right. Now, if I click the Themes drop-down again, browse through the Office themes and, for example, apply the Metropolitan theme. If I find that I'd like to reapply the custom theme I just created, I can click the Themes drop-down, and at the bottom of the menu is the option Browse for Themes. Click this, and a Choose Theme or Theme document file explorer opens. On the left, I'll click the Themes folder where my custom theme is saved. Select that theme, then click the Open button at the bottom right, and the custom theme that I'd created has now been reapplied to my worksheet. This has been an overview on using themes in Excel. Excel 365 Word Art tool can be used to create professional-looking titles with color and effects. In this video, you'll explore how to create, edit, and remove a word art title in Excel. I'd like to insert a word art title above the table in my worksheet. With word art, the title is inserted independently of the cells. To insert a title, first switch to the Insert tab. On the right of the Tools ribbon, click the Text drop-down, and in the center of the menu, click the Word Art drop-down to open a menu with various word art style options that you can apply to your text. At the bottom left of this menu, I'll select this black text with a white background option. Once you select an option, a text box is then added to the worksheet with placeholder text showing the word art style option you chose. Currently, this text box is placed over my table. I can move it to the top center above my table by hovering my mouse over it, and when my cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, click and drag the text box to the desired location. Now, in order to add my own text to this text box, I'll highlight the text currently in it, and then start typing the text that I'd like to have as my title. Even after I've chosen the word art style, I can still edit the text font size. I can quickly do this by highlighting my title text. When you do this, a mini toolbar displays with various formatting options. At the top center of this mini toolbar, I can adjust the font size using the Increase or Decrease Font Size tools, or I can click the Font Size drop-down button and from the menu select a specific font size number. I'll select the font size 48, and my word art title has been slightly decreased in size. I'll click Away to close the mini toolbar. If you decide that you'd like to remove the word art title, you can do this by first selecting the word art text box, and then press the Delete key on your keyboard. And my word art text box along with my title text has been removed from my worksheet. This has been an overview on creating a word art title in Excel. Excel 365 has a selection of preset word art styles, which are predefined formats you can apply to your text. However, these styles can be adjusted to suit your visual preferences and business needs. In this video, you'll explore how to format a word art title to make it presentable and easier to read in Excel. To quickly edit the word art title in my worksheet, first select the text box. Once I've done this, I can select the text within the text box, and a mini toolbar with various formatting options appears. If I'd like to add some font color to my text, at the bottom right, click the Font Color drop-down to open a gallery of theme, standard and more colors options. From the Theme Color section, I'll select the color option Blue Accent 5, and that color has been applied to my word art title text. From the Quick Formatting menu, you can also change the font, font size, and add effects such as bold, italic or underline. For example, I'll apply a bold effect by clicking the bold tool at the bottom left of the menu. I'll then click away to close the quick formatting menu. You can find these same formatting options in the font toolset of the Home tab. From this toolset, I also have other formatting options, such as the Fill Color tool. Click the Fill Color drop-down button to open a menu with the same gallery of colors shown earlier. From the Theme Color section, I'll select the color option Gold Accent 4, and that color has been applied to the background of my word art title. I'll click away to better see the changes I've applied to my title. Now, another way you can modify your word art title is to change the word art style. If I select the text box again, a Shape Format tab appears at the top of the Tools ribbon. Click this to display various formatting tool sets for the word art item. In the center of the ribbon is a Word Art Styles toolset, where you'll find a Styles menu. To see the full gallery of available styles, click the More button on the right of the menu. Note that hovering your mouse over the various styles enables you to see a preview of them apply to your title. Once I find a new style that I like, I'll select it to apply it to my title. Now, once you've added a new style, you can also modify the effects applied. As I can see, there's already an effect applied to the style. To modify this effect, go to the Word Art Styles toolset, and on the right, click the Text Effects button. In this menu are effect options such as shadow, reflection, glow, bevel, 3D rotation, and transform. I'll hover over the option shadow, and in the side menu, I can choose to add no shadow, an outer shadow, inner shadow, or perspective. Hovering over an option gives you a preview of it applied to your title. From the perspective section, I'll apply this perspective upper left option. At the top right of the Word Art Styles toolset is also the option to modify the text fill color. Click the text fill drop-down, and from the standard colors section, select this purple color. Below this, click the text outline drop-down, and from the theme colors section, I'll choose this black color, and the outline of my text is now in black. I've now successfully modified the fill, outline, and effects applied to my word art title text. This has been an overview on formatting a word art title in Excel. Charts are useful visual representations of an Excel 365 worksheet that make the data easier to analyze and interpret. Once inserted, you can customize individual elements of a chart. In this video, you'll explore how to move a chart and customize its title, labels, and axes in Excel. As you can see, I have a chart with different elements in the Exports worksheet. The chart has a title, axes, legend, and more. To move this chart to another worksheet, first select the chart, then switch to the Chart Design tab, and on the far right of the Tools ribbon is the Location toolset where you'll find the Move Chart button. Click this, and a Move Chart dialog box opens. From here, you can choose where to move the chart. You have two options: to move the chart to a newly created worksheet, or to move it to an already existing worksheet. I'll click the radio button next to New Sheet, then into the field to the right of it, I'll rename this new sheet. Click the OK button at the bottom right to save the changes, and a new worksheet titled EU Exports has been added to this workbook and contains my charts. Note also that my new worksheet with the chart does not contain any rows or columns. If I click the Exports Worksheet tab at the bottom left, I can see that the chart no longer appears here. I'll switch back to the EU Exports Worksheet tab. And now let's customize the chart's title. Currently, the chart title is called Exports and appears at the top center of the chart. To customize it, first select it to activate it. If I then hover my mouse over the title, and when my cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, I can click and drag the title to a new location. I can also rename it. Double-click within the title field to activate the blinking cursor, then edit or type in a new title. I can further format the title to make it stand out more. Switch to the Format tab, and in the center of the Tools ribbon is the Word Art Styles toolset, where you can apply word art to your text. First, select the text you want to format. In the Word Art toolset, you can apply word art styles, apply a text fill, text outline, or text effects. I'll click the More button on the right of the Styles menu to see the full gallery of options. At the bottom left of the menu, I'll select this Pattern Fill option, and that style has now been applied to my text. In a similar way, you can customize the axis text. First, I'll right-click the axis text on the left to open a shortcut menu. Select the option Font to open a font dialog box. From this window, you can change the font type, style, size, color, or even add effects. At the top left, click the Text Font drop-down, and from the menu, I'll select the font type Arial. To the right, click the font style drop-down, and I'll apply a bold effect to my axis text. Next, I'll click inside the size field and increase the font size by typing in the number 18. Click the OK button at the bottom right to apply the changes, and you can see those formatting options applied to my left axis text. Lastly, let's look at customizing the chart legend. Again, you can move the legend by first selecting it. Hover your mouse over it, and when the cursor changes to a four-headed arrow, click and drag the item to a new location. Note that when you select a chart item, handles appear on the outer perimeter of it. You can use these handles to resize the chart item. For example, I can click and drag this handle at the bottom left outwards to increase the legend size. And like with the axis text, you can make changes to the legend text by right-clicking on it. From the shortcut menu, select Font. From the Font dialog box, I'll click the font style drop-down and apply a bold effect to the text. I'll also click inside the size field and increase the text size by typing in 16. On the left, click the font color drop-down, and from the theme colors section of the menu, I'll select this black color. Click the OK button to apply the changes, and now note the updated appearance of the chart's legend text. This has been an overview on customizing charts in Excel. Once you've created your chart in Excel, you can begin to change its appearance. Updating the style can make the data easier to interpret or emphasize. In this video, you'll explore how to change the color setup for each element, adjust the font styles of any text item that you've added, and change the overall visual style of your chart. My chart is currently looking a bit bland. I'd like to format it to make it stand out more. To do this, first select the chart to activate it. When you do this, 3 buttons appear at the top right of it. Click the Chart Styles button displayed as a paintbrush icon. The Chart Styles menu opens. At the top left are 2 tabs where you can change the chart style. Note that hovering over an option in this menu gives you a preview of it applied to your chart. I'll scroll down and apply Style Option 6, and you have also a tab where you can change the chart color. Again, hovering over an option presents a preview of it applied. I'll select the Colorful Palette 1 option. Click Away to close this menu. You can also customize individual chart elements. For example, I'll right-click on my chart title. At the top of the shortcut menu are options to adjust the title style, fill and outline. I'll click the Style drop-down. The Style menu displays presets with varying combinations of color and effects based on your selected theme. I'll scroll down the menu and select this transparent, colored outline blue option to apply it. Click the Fill drop-down, and from this menu you can choose a theme or standard color to apply to the background of your chart item. And at the bottom, you can even apply effects such as a gradient or a texture. From the Theme Color section, I'll select the Gold Accent for Color option. Click the Outline drop-down, and in this menu are similar options. You can change the color, and at the bottom you can even change the line weight or apply dashes. From the Standard Color section, I'll select this light blue color, and that's applied to the outline of my title. The title text itself can also be formatted. First, highlight the text. When you do this, a mini toolbar appears with formatting options, such as to change the font size, color, or apply font effects. I won't change anything, so I'll click Away to close this. Like individual chart elements, the chart area itself can also be formatted. Right-click on a blank area of the chart, and at the bottom of the shortcut menu that appears are the same style options for the fill and outline. When a chart is selected, the Chart Design tab appears at the top of the Tools ribbon. Click this, and on the far left of the ribbon is the Chart Layouts toolset. From here, click the Quick Layout button, and a menu opens with a list of presets with varying combinations of chart elements. Hovering over a layout option will present a preview of it displayed. On the far left of the Chart Styles toolset is the Change Colors button. Click this, and in the drop-down menu you can choose a colorful or monochromatic option. In the same toolset, to the right is the Chart Styles menu where you can update the overall chart style. Click the More button on the right of it to see the full gallery of style options. I'll select the option Style 14 to apply it. Switch to the Format tab. From here, you can change an individual element style. For example, I want to change the 2020 bar chart's color. First, select the 2020 bars in the chart, and in the Current Selection toolset on the far left of the ribbon, it states the name of the selected bars. From the Shape Styles group, you can change the fill, outline, apply effects or a shape style preset. Click the Shape Fill drop-down, and from the Standard Colors section apply this green color. To edit any of the other chart elements, just select them and use the tools in the Shape Styles group to edit. On the left of the Format tab, in the Current Selection toolset, click the Format Selection button. A Format Data Series side pane opens on the right with options to change the currently selected element style. Currently, the 2020 bars are selected, but note that if I select the left chart axis, the options in the side pane update. At the top left, I'll click the Fill and Line tab, then below, click the Fill option to expand the Fill menu and, for example, click the Gradient Fill button to apply that effect to my axis. If I now scroll down, more gradient options have appeared where I can, for example, adjust the gradient type, direction, color or transparency, etc. Close this pane by clicking the X icon at the top right. This has been an overview on formatting a chart in Excel. With Excel 365, it's possible to modify different elements of a chart. In this video, you'll see how to add data series to charts, switch between row and columns, and add alternative text to charts. In my worksheet, I already have a chart added using the data in the table at the top, but I've added the 2021 data series to this table and would like that also added to my chart below. To do this, first select the chart. When the chart is selected, a Chart Design tab appears at the top of the Tools ribbon. Click this, and on the right of the ribbon, in the Data toolset, click the Select Data button. A Select Data Source dialog box opens. At the bottom left is a Legend Entries Series box, where I can see that the 2019 and 2020 series have already been added to my chart. To add the 2021 series, click the Add button at the top left of the box. An Edit Series dialog box opens. To add a name for this series, at the top click inside the series name field. Then I'll select cell A7, which contains my series name 2021. Then, to add my series values, I'll click the up arrow button on the right of that field. Select the cell range B7 to F7 in my table, then click the down arrow button on the right of the field. When you're happy with the information you've added, click the OK button at the bottom right, and in the Legend Entries section, I can see my 2021 series has been added and selected as there is a checkmark icon next to it. To finish adding the series, click the OK button at the bottom right. And if I scroll down, now in my bar chart, I can see that the 2021 data has been added. From the Chart Design tab in the Data toolset is also a Switch Row/Column button. You can use this button to swap the data over the axes, so any data on the y-axis will move to the x-axis, and vice versa. So if I click this button, in my chart, instead of the countries being listed on the x-axis, displayed now instead are the years. And the bars representing the data are now grouped together according to the year and not by country. Click the Switch Row/Column button again to switch the x-axis back. In Excel, you can also add alternative text to your charts. This is useful as it allows people with visual impairments to access your content. To add alt text, first select your chart, then click the Format tab at the top of the Tools ribbon. On the right of the ribbon is the Accessibility toolset, where you'll find the Alt Text tool. Click this, and an alt text side pane opens on the right. In the pane is a text field where you can insert your alternative text. Click inside the text field, and type in 1 to 2 sentences which describe the subject, setting and interactions that is happening in your chart. Below the text field is the option Mark as decorative. Marking a chart as decorative means that the chart adds visual interest but isn't informative, so people using screen readers will know that they aren't missing any information. I'll leave this option unchecked, and I'll close the side pane by clicking the X icon at the top right. This has been an overview on modifying chart elements in Excel. A trend line is a straight or curved line in a chart that shows the general pattern of data. In Excel, the addition of trend lines can enhance the appearance of your charts and assist you in data analysis. In this video, you'll discover how to add a trend line to your Excel chart, as well as format it. In my worksheet, I have a bar chart showing data spanning from the years 2017 to 2021. I'd like to add a trend line to this chart in order to better analyze my data. To do this, first select the chart. When you activate the chart, 3 buttons appear at the top right of it. Click the Chart Elements button displayed as a plus icon. This then opens a Chart Elements menu, where you can add or remove elements from your chart. At the bottom of the menu, check the box next to Trendline. An Add Trendline dialog box then appears. Listed here are my chart series import, export and balance. Select one of these options to base the trendline on. I'll select the option balance, then click the OK button at the bottom right. A green dotted line now appears near the bottom of my chart, just above the x-axis, showing the trend for my balance data. And I can also see this element has been added to my chart legend at the bottom of my chart. Currently, my trend line is dotted in green, making it a bit difficult to see. To format the trend line, first select the chart, then switch to the Format tab. Go to the Current Selection toolset on the far left of the ribbon and click the Chart Elements drop-down. From the menu, select the Trendline option. Note that you can also double-click the trend line in the chart to select it instead of using the Chart Elements drop-down list. From the Current Selection toolset, click on Format Selection. A Format Trendline side panel opens on the right. At the top left of this pane, I have tabs to change the fill and line of my trendline, add effects, or trendline options. I'll select the Fill and Line tab, then I'll click the Color drop-down, and from the Standard Colors section, choose this dark blue color. Then click the Dash Type drop-down and select the option Solid. My trendline is now much easier to see within my chart. I'll click the Trendline Options tab. Here, I can see that the currently chosen trendline is linear. I'll change this by clicking the radio button next to the option Polynomial, and my trendline is now curved in a convex shape. A polynomial trendline is a curved line that is best used to analyze gains or losses over a large data series. As you can see, the curve downward in 2019 and 2020 represent a balanced loss in those years. To the right of the polynomial option is an order number field, which you can use to increase the number of curves or hills that appear in your trendline. Scroll down the pane, and in the Forecast section, you can set a value in the forward or backward fields to project your data into the future or into the past. For example, I'll click inside the forward field and type in 1, then press the Enter key, and now in my chart the trendline has been extended to the right, projecting the balance data for the future. You can also format your trendline to a moving average line. A moving average is used to smooth out fluctuations in data to easily recognize trends. To do this, scroll back up to the list of trendline options and click the radio button next to the option Moving Average. And note that the trendline now shows the balance loss in 2020 more clearly compared to the polynomial option. To the right of the moving average option is a period field. A moving average trendline uses a specific number of data points, which is set by the period option, averages them, and uses the average value as a point in the trendline. Currently, this is set to 2, which means that the average of the first two data points 2017 and 2018 is used as the first point in the moving average trendline. The average of the second and third data points is used as the second point in the trendline, and so on. Close the side pane by clicking the X icon at the top right. This has been an overview on inserting and formatting a trendline in Excel. Chart axes quantify the information you're presenting in Excel. You can adjust the measurements, move the maximum and minimum values, and change where the two axes cross. In this video, you'll explore how to modify the chart axis in Excel to suit your purposes. Before making any changes to the axes, first select the chart to activate the two chart tabs. Switch to the Format tab, and on the far left of the Tools ribbon, in the Current Selection toolset, click the Chart Elements drop-down. From this list, you can manually choose which chart element you want to select. As you can see, both the horizontal and vertical axis is listed here. I'll select the vertical axis. Then from this same toolset, click the Format Selection button to open the Format Axis side panel on the right. At the top left are the tabs Axis Options and Text Options. Switch to the Text Options tab, and from here you have options to adjust the axis text fill and outline, apply text effects, and adjust the text box. I'll switch back to the Axis Options tab. Note that if you click the drop-down arrow next to the Axis Options tab, from this menu you can change the chart element selection. Click away to close this. You have 4 Axis Options tabs. They are Fill and Line, Effects, Size and Properties, and Axis Options. Currently, the Axis Options tab is selected. Within each tab are different subheadings. Click the arrow to the left of a heading to show or hide its contents. From this tab, you can configure how the axis interacts with the chart. When you create a chart, the bounds will be set to fit the inserted data. Below the Axis Options subheading, you can manually increase or decrease the minimum and maximum bounds. I'll click inside the Maximum Bounds field and increase this to 4,000, then press the Enter key to apply this. And note the updated axis in the chart, as well as that the bar heights have also updated. Below, you can also change the major and minor units. For example, if you wanted the axis to display less figures, you can increase the major units. Click inside the major unit field, and I'll increase this to 1000. And note that the y-axis now shows the axis range from 0 to 4000, with the spacing of 1000 between each. Scroll down, and next is the horizontal axis crosses section, where I can set where the horizontal axis crosses the vertical axis. Currently, the option axis value is selected. I can click inside this field, and for example type in 500, then press enter. And the horizontal axis now crosses at the vertical axis 500 mark. Next, you can change the display units. Click this drop down, and from the menu I'll select thousands. My vertical axis updates and now displays the labeled 1000. To hide this label, you can uncheck the box next to Show Display Units label on chart. Next, you can activate the logarithmic scale by checking this box, and my chart is now scaled by a base of 10, and my vertical axis units have been multiplied by 10. I'll uncheck this option, and if I check the values in reverse order option, my axis values are now in reverse order. I'll uncheck this. Click the tick mark subheading to expand it, and you have options to change how the major and minor tick marks are displayed. Click the major type drop down and set it to inside. The axis tick marks now display on the inside of the chart area. Next, click the label subheading. Here, you can change the label position. Click this drop down, and you can set the labels to appear next to the axis, high, low, or have no labels. And in the number subheading, you can set how the axis numbers get displayed. Click this drop down, and I'll select the category currency, and pound symbols now appear next to my axis numbers. Depending on the category you select, the below individual settings will vary. So here you can adjust the decimal places, the currency symbol, how negative numbers are displayed, or to add your own custom format via a format code. The axis is a key part of the chart, so knowing how to customize and format it to suit your chart data is essential. Close this panel by clicking the X icon at the top right. This has been an overview on customizing chart axes in Excel. If you have multiple types of data in your Excel table, then you may experience problems with your chart scale and display settings. In Excel, you can use the combo chart to create a graphic that combines multiple data types. You can even add a secondary axis. I already have a combo chart inserted into my worksheet. To create a combo chart, go to the Insert tab and from the Charts toolset, click the Insert Combo Chart button. Note that a combo chart can have a secondary axis, as well as different chart types. If I scroll down my worksheet, below I have a bar chart also representing the data from the table above. Note that as the price range data is a much larger value compared to the other data, this makes the other data very hard to read. This is where using a combo chart comes in useful. To convert a standard chart into a combo chart, first select the chart, then switch to the Chart Design tab. On the right of the ribbon, in the Type toolset, click the Change Chart Type button. A Change Chart Type window opens and the bar tab on the left is selected. At the bottom of the tab list, I'll click on Combo. At the top of this tab is a chart preview, and below you can choose the chart type and axis for each individual data series. I'll scroll down this list, and for example, click the chart type drop down for the price range series. And from the menu, select Line with Markers. And because the values differ so much, I'll add a secondary axis for this series by checking the secondary axis box to the right. And the chart preview above updates to now show 2 lines within the chart, as well as 2 vertical axes. You can also combine multiple chart types within a combo chart. For example, I'll click the chart type drop down next to Average User Rating and select the Stacked Area chart type. And note the changes to the chart preview above. Click the OK button at the bottom right to finish converting the chart. As you can see, because I combined different chart types, the different data types are now presented in this single coherent chart. The bars columns represent ISO, resolution and zoom values, and their data values can be read from the left axis. From the left axis, you can also read the average user rating data, which is represented by a stacked yellow area chart type. The price range is represented with the blue line, and because its values are larger than the others, that data can be read from the secondary axis located on the right of the chart. You can further format this combo chart. With the chart selected, a Chart Design and Format tab appear at the top of the Tools ribbon. Switch to the Chart Design tab, go to the Chart Layouts toolset on the far left of the ribbon, and click the Quick Layout button. From this drop-down menu, you can choose another layout option. I'll select the option Layout 9, and my chart size has now been condensed and the legend appears on the right. From the Chart Styles toolset in the center, click the More button on the right of the Styles menu to expand it. And I'll select the option Style 1. Note also on the left that this toolset you can click the Change Colors drop-down and customize the color and style of your chart by choosing either a colorful or monochromatic palette option. Click Away to close this. I'll switch to the Format tab, and I'd like to format the zoom bars, so I'll select those within my chart. Note that in the Chart Elements drop-down of the Current Selection toolset it states which chart item is currently selected. In the center of the ribbon is the Shape Styles toolset, where you can adjust the shape fill, outline, apply effects or a shape style preset. If you want to edit any other chart element, just select it within the chart and use the tools from the Shape Styles toolset to edit it. When a chart is selected, at the top right of it is a Chart Elements button displayed as a plus icon. Click this, and from the menu you can add or remove elements. For example, I'll remove the axis title by unchecking the box next to it. Below this is also a Chart Filters button. Click this, and from the menu you can apply filters to isolate certain data. Below the series heading, I'll uncheck the Select All button, and for example, to just see the price range data, check the box next to it, then click the Apply button at the bottom left. And displayed in my chart is now just the marked line, which represents the price range data. Click Away to close this menu. This has been an overview on combining two types of chart in Excel. In Excel, you can insert miniature charts called spark lines that track the overall trend of a data series. These are very beneficial in interpreting data that follows a trend or a pattern. In this video, you'll learn how to create line, column and win/loss spark lines, as well as remove spark lines, in Excel. In my worksheet is data spanning from 2017 to 2021. I want to display these data trends visually in the column J empty cells. To begin, I'll first select cell J3, then switch to the Insert tab. In the center of the ribbon, go to the Spark Lines group. From here, you can insert a line, column or win/loss spark line. I'll select the Line option. A Create Spark Lines dialog box opens where next I need to select the data range the trend will be based on. Click inside the Data Range field, then I'll highlight the cell range D3 to H3. Because I already selected my location cell earlier, below in the Location Range field is the cell range J3. Click the OK button at the bottom right to create the line sparkline, and in cell J3 is now a line sparkline representing the import data. So now readers can see the overall data trend at a glance. Let's insert another trend line for the exports data. Just follow the same steps as previously shown. First, select cell J5, then switch to the Insert tab. In the Spark Lines toolset, this time I'll click on Column. The Create Spark Lines dialog box opens. With the Data Range field activated, I'll select cells D5 to H5. And again, the location range is already inserted. Click the OK button, and in cell J5 are now column bars, which represent the export data trends. A win/loss sparkline is a more binary trend that only shows whether a value is positive or negative. To insert a win/loss sparkline for the balance data, select cell J7. Switch to the Insert tab, and from the Spark Lines toolset, click on Win/Loss. Select the cell range D7 to H7, then click the OK button. And now in cell J7 are 3 blue bars and 1 red bar. The blue bars represent positive balance values, whereas the red bar represents a negative value. To remove a singular sparkline, select the sparkline you want to remove, then switch to the Sparkline tab. Go to the Group toolset on the far right of the ribbon and click the Clear button, and the sparkline from cell J3 has been removed. You can also remove spark lines from the Home tab. I'll remove the other 2 spark lines by first selecting cells J5 and J7. Switch to the Home tab, go to the Editing toolset on the right of the ribbon, click the Clear button, and from the menu select the option Clear All. This has been an overview on creating spark lines in Excel. In Excel 365, spark lines can be formatted to highlight certain pieces of data. You can change the color scheme, activate and deactivate different data points, and even visualize negative values. In this video, you'll learn how to customize spark lines in Excel. On the left of my worksheet are some data trends, and on the right is their corresponding spark lines. To begin customizing a spark lines style, first select the cell the sparkline is located in. When you do this, the Sparkline tab at the top of the Tools ribbon is activated. Click this, and in the center of the ribbon is the Style tool set. From here, you can choose a preset style from the Style menu. Click the More button on the right to expand this menu, and I'll apply this green color to my sparkline. Note also on the right of this toolset, you can also change the sparkline and marker color. For example, I want to change the color of individual markers, so I'll click the marker color drop down, and from this menu, you can change the color of negative points, markers, high, low, first and last points. I'll hover over markers, and from the side menu select this red color. On the left of the ribbon is the Show toolset. From here, you can choose to show or hide points and markers in your sparkline. For example, if I uncheck the box next to markers, the markers have now been removed from my sparkline. If I check the box next to high point, a green marker now appears at the high point of my sparkline. You can also change the sparkline type. On the left of the ribbon is the Type toolset. Here, currently the option line is selected. I'll select the option column. My line sparkline is now a column sparkline, and note that the highest column is a lighter shade of green than the others. This is because the high point marker in the Show toolset is still selected. To help readers differentiate between the data values in your sparkline, you can choose to show the axis. First, I'll select cell J5, which contains my win/loss sparkline. Switch to the Sparkline tab, and on the far right of the ribbon in the Group toolset is an axis drop-down button. Click this, and from this menu you can choose to show the horizontal axis or even set the minimum and maximum values for the vertical axis. From the Horizontal Axis Options section, I'll click on Show Axis. A horizontal axis now appears in my sparkline. I'd like to set a maximum value axis for my column sparkline, so I'll select cell J3, switch to the Sparkline tab and click the Axis drop-down button. From the Vertical Axis Maximum section, click the Custom Value option. A sparkline vertical axis setting dialog box opens. Click inside the field on the right, and I'll set the maximum value to 100, then click the OK button at the bottom right. And note that the columns in my sparkline now appear smaller in height. To return the vertical axis value to normal, click the axis drop down again and from the vertical axis maximum section, select the option Automatic for each sparkline. Sparklines are a great way of displaying data trends over time in a concise way. Knowing how to format these can further improve a sparkline's readability. This has been an overview on customizing sparklines in Excel. In Excel 365, a bubble chart can be used to cross-reference 3 different types of information in a single chart. Different data values can be visualized according to where the point is placed on the X and Y axes, and the size of the point itself. In this video, you'll explore how to create a bubble chart in Excel. I have a table with 3 different columns of information. To create a bubble chart from this data table, first select the table's data range, then switch to the Insert tab, go to the Charts toolset in the center of the ribbon and click the Insert Scatter or Bubble Chart drop-down button. From the menu, you have various scatter and bubble chart options. And note that when you hover over a chart option, a preview of it displays in the worksheet. From the Bubble section, I'll select this bubble chart option, and the bubble chart now displays within my worksheet. The chart is currently covering some of my data table. To move the chart, hover over it, and when the mouse cursor changes to a move cursor, you can click and drag the chart to another location. I can also resize it. When the chart is selected, resize handles appear on the outer perimeter of it. I'll click and drag the handle at the bottom right outwards to increase the chart size. With bubble charts, the information may not be correctly displayed after insertion. Because of this, I'll insert the data manually to create a single series, combining all 3 values. With the chart selected, the Chart Design tab is activated. On the right of the ribbon, in the Data toolset, click the Select Data button. A Select Data Source dialog box opens. From here, I can begin editing the chart data. First, I'll remove the current data series by going to the Legend Entries box at the bottom left. Select a data series from the list, then click the Remove button at the top of this box, then do the same for the other 2 data series. Now, I can specify the correct data series by clicking the Add button at the top left of the Legend Entries box. An Edit Series dialog box opens. Here, you can manually enter the series name, its X and Y values, and the bubble size. I'll click inside the series name field and type in the first service PhotoPix. In the chart, the X-axis represents the release date column, the Y-axis represents user rating, and the bubble size represents price. To reference the release date cell, click inside the Series X value field and I'll select cell E4. Click the up arrow button on the right of the Series Y values field, select cell F4 and press the Enter key. Click the up arrow button on the right of the bubble size field, select cell G4, and then press Enter. You can confirm that you've selected the correct cells by checking the values to the right of each field. As you can see, the values here correspond to the chart, so I'll click the OK button at the bottom right to add the series. The Edit Series dialog box closes, and now in the Legend Entries box, the PhotoPix data series has been added. Let's add another data series. Click the Add button again. Into the series name field, I'll type in Panoramia. Activate the Series X field and select cell E5, activate the Series Y field and select cell F5, and finally activate the bubble size field and select cell G5. Click the OK button to add the series. Once you've specified the relevant data series and added them to the Select Data Source dialog box, click the OK button at the bottom right. I've now been returned to the worksheet, and in my bubble chart I can see that those two data series have been successfully added. Each data series is represented by a bubble within the chart, and the color and shape of each bubble is dependent on which chart style is currently chosen. This has been an overview on creating a bubble chart in Excel. A radar chart can be used to visually plot 5 different data values in a single chart, with each axis representing a particular value or measurement. Once a radar chart is inserted, you can compare the form and size of the shape created along the 5 different axes to obtain an overall representation of the respective data series. In this video, you'll explore how to create a radar chart in Excel. On the left of my worksheet is a data table. To create a radar chart using this table, first select the entire table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab. In the center of the ribbon, go to the Charts toolset and click the Recommended Charts button. An Insert Chart window opens, and the Recommended Charts tab at the top left is selected. To the right of this, switch to the All Charts tab. From the list of categories on the left, select Radar. Now at the top center are 3 different radar chart types: radar, radar with markers, and filled radar. I'll select radar with markers, and displayed below are 2 radar with marker chart options. Hovering over an option presents a preview of it. I'm happy with the selected chart on the left, so I'll click the OK button at the bottom right. That chart now appears in my worksheet. Radar charts can be moved and resized the same as other charts. Hover your mouse over the chart, and when the cursor changes to a move cursor, click and drag the chart to another location. To resize the chart, first select it to activate the resize handles on the outer perimeter of it. Then to make it bigger, I'll click and drag the handle at the bottom left outwards, and I can now see the chart data more clearly. A radar chart's plot area consists of variance-sized pentagons, each representing a range from the data series. There's also a vertical line of numbers ranging from 0 to 12, which indicates a pentagon's value, and each point of the largest outer pentagon represents a column heading from the data table. Each brand from my table is represented visually by a colored shape within the pentagon grid lines, and each marker on these grid lines indicates the value of a given category. For example, let's look at this yellow shape. At the top of the chart, I can see that this shape represents the PhotoOn brand. And if I go to the point in the outer perimeter that represents the ISO sensitivity heading, I can see that there's a yellow marker below this that crosses the value 8 gridline pentagon, so I know that the ISO sensitivity value for the PhotoOn brand is 8. Knowing how to read a radar chart allows you to get a quick overall view of a data series with multiple types of information. Note also that when a radar chart is selected, a Chart Design and Format tab appear at the top of the Tools ribbon. From these tabs, you can access formatting options to customize your chart. This has been an overview on creating a radar chart in Excel. In Excel 365, a scatter chart can be used to cross-reference values and combine different data types to make it easier to analyze or interpret information that originates from different data series. In this video, you'll explore how to create a scatter chart in Excel. To insert a scatter chart, first I'll select the table cell range I want the chart to be based on, then switch to the Insert tab. From the Charts toolset in the center of the ribbon, click the Insert Scatter or Bubble Chart drop-down. From this menu, you have various scatter and bubble chart options. From the Scatter Chart section, if you hover your mouse over the various options, a preview of them displays in the worksheet. At the bottom of the menu is a More Scatter Chart option. Click this and the Insert Chart window opens on the All Charts tab, and the Scatter category on the left is selected. At the top center are 7 scatter chart types. Currently, the scatter type is selected, and below are scatter chart type options. You can again hover your mouse over an option to see a preview of it. I'm happy with the selected chart on the left, so I'll click the OK button at the bottom right to insert it into my worksheet. Once the scatter chart is inserted, you can move and resize it like any other chart. Hover over the chart. When the Move Mouse cursor appears, click and drag the chart to the desired location. I'll also make it bigger by clicking and dragging this outer perimeter handle at the bottom right outwards. Note that for scatter charts, you may need to edit the data series in order to interpret it correctly. You can manually edit the data series for a scatter chart to ensure it's interpreted as a single series, combining both values so the points along the X and Y axis correspond to it. When a chart is selected, the Chart Design tab becomes available at the top of the Tools ribbon. On the right of this tab, in the Data toolset, click the Select Data button. The Select Data Source dialog box opens, and from here I can edit the chart's data series. First, I need to remove the already inserted data series. At the bottom left, in the Legend Entries list, I'll select a data series and delete it by clicking the Remove button at the top right of this section, and I'll select the other data series and click Remove as well. To add a data series manually, click the Add button at the top left of this section. An Edit Series dialog box displays. At the top, click inside the series name field, and I'll type in the first site London. Next, I need to insert the X and Y values, so I'll switch to the X value field by pressing the Tab key. You can either type in the X and Y values manually, or you can select the cells the values are contained in. In the chart, the X-axis represents the DVD player sales, so I'll select cell D5. Press the Tab key to go to the Y value field, and as the Y-axis represents DVD sales, I'll select cell E5. Click the OK button at the bottom right to add the series. The Edit Series dialog box closes, and in the Legend Entries list is my added London data series. In this way, we can plot different values using the same data series. Let's add another data series. Click the Add button again. Into the series name field, I'll type in Berlin. Press the Tab key to activate the X value field, and I'll select cell D6. Press the Tab key again, and for the Y value, select cell E6, then click the OK button. And you can repeat this process as many times as there are data series to be added. Once the data series have been added manually, click the OK button at the bottom right. And my scatter chart updates to reflect the modified data series. As you can see, the chart's X and Y values have been successfully plotted in the chart. The horizontal axis represents the DVD player sales, while the vertical axis represents the DVD sales. When a chart is selected, the Chart Design and Format tabs become available in the Tools ribbon. From these tabs, you can access various formatting options to further customize your chart. This has been an overview on creating a scatter chart in Excel. Map charts in Excel 365 are useful to plot geographical values, such as when you have data relating to regions, countries, or region-specific locations. In this video, you'll explore how to create a map chart in Excel. On the left of my worksheet is a table with data regarding various countries. To create a map chart from this data, first select the data cell range, then switch to the Insert tab, go to the Charts toolset in the center of the ribbon and click the Maps button. In the drop-down menu is a Field Map option. Hovering your mouse over this option presents a preview of it in your worksheet. Click on the Map option to insert it into the worksheet. You can move and resize the map chart like usual. Click and drag it to the desired location, and increase or decrease its size using the outer perimeter handles. I can also rename the chart by clicking on the chart title element, and I'll rename this title to CO2 emissions. Similarly, you can adjust the legend title to ensure it displays correctly if no series title is correctly specified. With the chart selected, the Chart Design tab opens in the Tools ribbon. Go to the Data toolset in the center and click the Select Data button. The Select Data Source dialog box opens. At the bottom left, in the Legend Entries list, select the data series, which for me is titled Series 1, then click the Edit button at the top center of this list. An Edit Series dialog box opens. Because data is being pulled from the 2021 column, I'll click inside the series name field at the top and rename it to 2021. To save, click the OK button at the bottom right, and click the OK button at the bottom right of the Select Data Source window. And note that my map chart displays the updates I made. The Series 1 text has been replaced with 2021 in the chart's legend. And note you can further customize the chart using the formatting options available in the Chart Design and Format tabs. This has been an overview on creating a map chart in Excel. In Excel 365, you can create a box and whisker chart to represent a statistical distribution of data values visually, including the upper and lower range of observations or boxes, and any outline points that don't follow a trend, the so-called whiskers. In this video, you'll explore how to create a box and whisker chart in Excel. On the left of my worksheet is a table displaying the test scores for the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in 4 different schools. To better analyze this data, I'll insert a box and whisker chart. A box and whisker chart is most commonly used in statistical analysis. It's useful for comparing characteristics between different data sets, and also quickly finding any outliers. To insert this chart, first I'll select the data the chart will be based on, so I'll select the entire cell range of my table, then switch to the Insert tab. Go to the Charts toolset in the center of the ribbon and click the Insert Statistic Chart button. In the drop-down menu are histogram chart options and then a box and whisker chart option. Hovering over this option will show a preview of it displayed in your worksheet. I'll go ahead and click the box and whisker chart option to insert it into my worksheet. I can then move and resize the chart. I'll hover over the chart and then click and drag it to the right-hand side of my worksheet, then I'll click and drag the resize handle at the bottom left outwards to increase the chart size. Note that when a chart is selected, the Chart Design and Format tabs display at the top of the Tools ribbon. You can further customize and improve the readability of this chart using the formatting options available in these tabs. On the x-axis of the chart are the 3 different school grades, and on the y-axis is a number scale that is used to read the test scores. In the center of the chart are different colored boxes, which represent the 4 different schools, and on each end of the boxes are T-shaped projections called whiskers. The bottom whisker is known as the local minimum. The values between the end of the whisker and bottom of the box represent the lowest quarter of values found in this data set. Any values found between the bottom of the box and the line found running through each box represents the next 25% of test scores. Note that the line within the box shows the median of this data set, i.e. the middle value within the data. Then, from the line to the top of the box shows the third quartile of data. And finally, the area between the top of the box and then the end of the top whisker contains the final highest 25% of test scores, also known as the local maximum. Within each box, you'll also see an X marker. This represents the average of all of the data points, i.e. the mean value. Within the chart, you'll also notice that there are dots. You'll find these above or below the end of a whisker. These dots represent any outliers found within a data set. For example, in the 11th grade of School 4, there is an outlier located below the bottom whisker with the value of 57, so this value is much further below the other values within this data set. This has been an overview on creating a box and whisker chart in Excel. Any data that's arranged in columns and rows in Excel can be plotted in a combo chart, which combines 2 or more chart types with the option for a secondary axis to make the data easier to interpret. In this video, you'll explore how to create a combo chart in Excel. On the left of my worksheet is a table with various data about 4 different brands. To create a combo chart from this data, first I'll select the table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab. Go to the Charts toolset in the center of the ribbon and click the Insert Combo Chart button. In the drop-down menu are 3 combo chart options. Note that hovering over an option will present a preview of it in the worksheet. The 3 chart options include a clustered column line, which combines a clustered column and line chart. Some of the data is shown as a column and some as lines. Next, you have a clustered column line on secondary axis. This is similar to the clustered column line chart, but this chart has a secondary vertical axis, which is useful if you have a much larger data series compared to the other data. And finally, a stacked area clustered column. This chart combines a stacked area and clustered column chart. It shows some data series as stacked areas and others as columns within the same chart. At the bottom of the menu is the option Create Custom Combo Chart. This option lets you combine different chart types you want to show in the same chart. I'll select the option Clustered Column Line on secondary axis, and that chart now appears in my worksheet. You can move and resize this chart the same as other charts. To move it, hover over the chart. When the cursor changes to a Move Cursor, click and drag the chart to another location. When a chart is selected, resize handles appear on the outer perimeter of it. Click and drag these handles inwards to reduce the chart size or outwards to increase it. Standard formatting options are available to customize this chart from the Chart Design and Format tabs that appear at the top of the Tools ribbon when a chart is selected. This has been an overview on creating a combo chart in Excel. Funnel charts are ideal to portray values across multiple stages of a process. Typically, the chart values decrease gradually over time, giving the overall appearance of the chart a funnel shape. In this video, you'll explore how to create a funnel chart in Excel. Before beginning, it's important to note that the funnel chart is only available in Excel if you have Office 2019 or if you have a Microsoft 365 subscription. On the left of my worksheet is a table showing the number of sales prospects at each stage of the sale process. A funnel chart is best used with data that decreases gradually over time, which then will create an appearance of a funnel in the chart. As you can see, the values in my amount column do decrease over each stage of the sale process. To create a funnel chart from this data, first I'll select the table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab, go to the Charts toolset and click the Insert Waterfall, Funnel, Stock, Surface or Radar Chart button. In the drop-down menu are 5 different chart type sections. In the Funnel section is one Funnel Chart Type option. When you hover over this, a preview of it displays in the worksheet. Click this option, and the funnel chart has now been inserted into my worksheet. I'll click and drag this chart to the right-hand side, and I'll drag the resize handle at the bottom left outwards to better see the chart. Listed on the left of my funnel chart are each of the sale stages, and to the right of each stage heading is a bar which represents the corresponding sale amount. As the amount values in my table decrease over each stage, in the chart the bars also decrease in size, which makes the bars resemble a funnel shape. When the chart is selected, the Chart Design and Format tabs appear at the top of the Tools ribbon. You can use the formatting options available in these tabs to customize the look of your chart. This has been an overview on creating a funnel chart in Excel. In Excel 365, you can create a histogram, which is a type of statistical column chart used to depict the frequency of data values at intervals. In this video, you'll explore how to create a histogram in Excel. Before beginning, it's important to note that the histogram chart feature is only available in Excel 2016 or newer versions. A histogram chart is a type of statistical column chart that visually represents the frequency at which numerical data points fall within a specified range of cells. These range of cells will be represented by columns called bins. On the left of my worksheet is a table with employee names and then their sale numbers. For example, to see the number of people who made between 11 and 29 sales, I'll create a histogram chart. To do this, I'll select the table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab, go to the Charts toolset, and click the Insert Statistic Chart button. In the drop-down menu are histogram and box and whisker chart options. In the histogram section are 2 chart types, histogram and Pareto. Note that hovering over the histogram chart options shows a preview of it in the worksheet. I'll select the histogram option, and the histogram chart now appears in my worksheet. In the chart are 2 blue columns, also known as bins, which show the distribution of the selected data. For example, the left blue column represents the number of employees with sales between 11 and 29. Using the vertical axis, I can see that the value is 9, meaning 9 employees have sale numbers between this range. When you select the Chart Design and Format tabs will become available at the top of the Tools ribbon. Using the formatting options found in the Chart Design and Format tabs, you can customize the look of your chart, as well as modify the bin's width and the number of bins in your chart. For example, to modify the bins to improve the display of the data, right-click on the horizontal axis and from the menu select the Format Axis option. The Format Axis side panel opens on the right, and the Axis Options tab is selected. From here, you can change the bin width, the number of bins in your chart, or if you want to add an overflow or underflow bin. The overflow bin is used to group together data above a certain value, and the underflow bin groups data below a certain value. I'll click the radio button next to the option bin width to activate it, and using the text field to the right, I can increase or decrease the width of the bins. If I decrease the width of the bins, more bins will be added to the chart as there will be more room to do so. I'll click inside the field and decrease the number to 10, then press the Enter key to apply this. The width size of the bins reduces, and 2 more bins have been added to the chart, showing the ranges 21 to 31, and 31 to 41. Close the side pane by clicking the X icon at the top right of it. I'll also add data labels to the chart so I can see the number of individuals in each bin. To do this, first select the chart to activate the Chart Elements button at the top right of it. Click this, and from the menu check the box next to Data Labels. And now above each bin is the number of people with sales between those sale ranges. This has been an overview on creating a histogram chart in Excel. A sunburst chart offers a hierarchical representation of data, whereas a waterfall chart is used to depict how a series of positive or negative values affect a whole. In this video, you'll explore how to create sunburst and waterfall charts in Excel. On the left of my worksheet is a table containing some sale information. To create a sunburst chart using this data, first select the table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab. At the top center of the Charts toolset, click the Insert Hierarchy Chart button. In this drop-down menu is a tree map and then a sunburst chart option. Note that also from the Charts toolset you can click the Recommended Charts button, and from the All Charts tab, create a sunburst chart. From the drop-down menu, I'll click the Sunburst Chart option and that's now been inserted into my worksheet. I'll click and drag this chart to the right-hand side of my worksheet. Note that a sunburst chart is similar to a donut chart, except a sunburst chart has multiple rings, which represent different levels of hierarchy. In my chart, the innermost ring with the January, February and March data represents the top of the hierarchy data, and the outermost ring with the region data represents the last hierarchy level. Note also that the data in the chart is divided into 3 groups, each represented by a different color. For example, the January group is a blue color, and the February group is an orange color. You can customize the color and formatting of the chart using the formatting options available in the Chart Design and Format contextual tabs. Another type of chart available in Excel is a waterfall chart. I'll switch to the Revenue Worksheet tab at the bottom left, and on the left of this worksheet is a table with some revenue data. A waterfall chart is used to illustrate how positive or negative values in a data series affect the end total value. For example, in my table, I want to see how positive values such as the revenue cost and negative values like the cost of goods affect the overall net income value. To do this, I'll insert a waterfall chart. First, select the table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab. In the Charts toolset, click the Insert Waterfall, Funnel, Stock, Surface, or Radar Chart button. The first category in this drop-down menu is the Waterfall Chart option. Note that you can also insert this chart option by clicking the Recommended Charts button, and from the All Charts tab select the Waterfall option. From the menu, I'll click the Waterfall option, and the waterfall chart has now been inserted into my worksheet. In my chart, the blue column represents positive values, and the orange columns represent negative values. Note that in my chart legend, it states that gray columns represent the overall total value, but that the net income column is set to an increase column. You can double-click on a data point in the chart to open the Format Data Point side pane, and from here, check the Set as Total box, and the net income is now set as a total value and now starts on the horizontal axis at 0. As my chart also includes a gross revenue value, it would also be necessary to set this as a total value to better see how the initial value evolves. Close this pane by clicking the X icon at the top right. Note also that standard formatting options are available to customize the chart from the Chart Design and Format contextual tabs. This has been an overview on creating sunburst and waterfall charts in Excel. Templates help make it easier to generate charts in Excel, especially if there's a specific chart format that you use often that you would like to save. In this video, you'll explore how to create a chart template in Excel. Once a chart has been created, you can create a template from it. In my worksheet is a clustered column chart. To save this as a template, right-click on the chart. From the shortcut menu, select the Save as Template option. A Save as Chart Template File Explorer window then opens. From this window, choose a location to save your chart template to. The default save location is the Templates folder that Excel 365 uses. You can save it here, or you can choose another location. I'm happy with this default save location. At the bottom center of the window is a file name field where you can specify the file name for the chart template. Click inside this field, and I'll replace the default name Chart1 with the name EU Exports. Below this is the Save as Type drop-down. By default, the Save as Type is set to Chart Template Files. To save this template, click the Save button at the bottom right. The File Explorer window closes, and the chart template has now been created. To then use the chart template, I'll first switch to the Exports to Worksheet tab at the bottom left. Here, I'll select the table cell range I want to base the chart on, then switch to the Insert tab. From the Charts toolset, click the Recommended Charts button. The Insert Chart window opens. At the top left, switch to the All Charts tab. From the category list on the left, click the Templates option. When you click this category, on the right any chart templates you've saved will display. If you have only one chart template saved, by default it will be selected. So from here, you can select the template you want to use. Note that hovering over a template option will present a larger preview of it. To insert the template into your worksheet, click the OK button at the bottom right. My saved chart template now appears in my worksheet with the selected data from the table on the left applied to it. You can then resize, modify, and reposition this chart like any other chart in Excel. This has been an overview on creating a chart template in Excel. Excel 365 has an integrated email function, which enables you to quickly send your worksheets to other users. You can easily add recipients and choose from different formats, including XLS and PDF. In this video, you'll discover how to send Excel 365 content via email. To send my open workbook, first I need to switch to the File tab. The File Backstage view then opens. From the navigation pane on the left, click on Share. I'm then navigated back to the workbook and a Share window opens. Here you have options to upload your workbook to OneDrive. And at the bottom left are the options to attach an Excel workbook or PDF copy of your file instead. The Excel workbook option will share your workbook as an XLS attachment, and the recipient will be able to open and modify the content. I'll select the Excel workbook option, and a new message window opens in my default email client Outlook, and below the subject field I can see my attached file within this email. If I click the drop-down button on the right of the file attachment, in the menu are the options to open the file directly from the email. You have the option Upload, and in the flyout menu you can upload it to my cloud services, such as OneDrive or SharePoint. Next, I can also quick print the file. The option Save As to save it to your computer, remove the attachment. I can cut, copy, or even select all. Click Away to close this menu. Now, before I can send this email, I need to add a recipient. At the top, click inside the To field and type in a contact's name, then select it from the suggestion list. Below, in the subject field, the name of my Excel file has been automatically filled in here. To change this, I can highlight this text, delete it by pressing the backspace key, and then type in a different subject line. And finally, in the main body of the email, I can add an email message. Click inside this field, and I'll paste in a message using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+V. I can now send my email by clicking the Send button at the top left corner of the email. The Outlook window closes, and I am brought back to my Excel workbook. You can also send an Excel workbook as a PDF attachment. A PDF file format is useful if you want to share your workbook but don't want other users to modify its contents. To send a workbook as a PDF, you can click the green Share button at the top right corner of the Excel window. The Share window opens. As you can see, this is the same window that you can access from the File Backstage view, and at the bottom left you again have the options to attach an Excel workbook or PDF copy. I'll select the PDF option. The new Message Outlook window opens, and I can see that the Excel file has been attached in a PDF file format. If I double-click on the PDF file attachment, the file then automatically opens in the default web browser Microsoft Edge. From here, I can view the contents of the document. Close this window by clicking the X icon at the top right. Now again, before sending this email, I need to add a recipient. Click inside the To field, type out a contact's name, and then select them from the suggestion list. I can again modify the subject line. Select the text in the subject field and type in a subject line. Then I'll click inside the main message field and paste in an email message using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+V. Then click the Send button at the top left to send the email. The Outlook window closes, and I've been returned to my Excel workbook window. This has been an overview on sending content via email in Excel. It's easy to view the details associated with your Microsoft installation of Excel 365. You can also connect multiple services such as SharePoint and OneDrive. In this video, you'll discover how to manage your account and connected services in Excel. First, let's look at how to access your Microsoft account details. At the top right of the Excel window, you'll see your account username. If you click your username, a drop-down menu will open where you can see your account name and email address. You can view your account via a web browser or see your account details by selecting Office User Info. And at the bottom is the option to sign in with a different account. An alternative way to access your user info is to click the File tab at the top left corner. The Backstage view then opens. From the bottom left of the File menu, click on Account. The account page opens, and at the top left is the user information section where you can see information such as the email address and avatar associated with this account. Just below are links to sign out or to switch accounts. On the right of the Accounts page, you can view your Office product information. Displayed here is the subscription model and sign-in details. Next, you can configure the Office updates. Click the Update Options button, and in the menu are the options to perform an update now, disable updates, view the update history, or to learn more about updates. And at the bottom of the Product Information section, you can learn more about Excel, support, product ID and copyright information. You have also a What's New button, which you can use to see the most recently installed updates in the app. It's a good idea to use this button to check what new features have been added to the app after an update. At the bottom left of the Accounts page, you can view and add connected services. Some services may automatically be added when signing in with an Office 365 account, such as SharePoint or OneDrive. To add a connected service, click the Add a Service button below. In the menu, hover over the option Storage, and in the side menu you can add storage services such as OneDrive or OneDrive for Business. Next, you can also add other sites or Office Store apps. I'll hover over Storage again, and from the side menu select the option OneDrive. A Microsoft Add a Service dialog box opens. From here, you can connect to Microsoft account to add a personal OneDrive account, but you'll need an email address and password to do this. I'll click inside the email field and type in my email address. Then click the blue Next button on the right. The window refreshes, and now in the Connected Services list, a OneDrive personal service has been added. You can remove a connected service by clicking the Remove link found to the right of the service. Then from the Microsoft Excel pop-up notification, confirm that you want to remove the service by clicking the Yes button. Note that some services can't be removed because they're connected to an Office account used to sign in or activate Office 365. That's why OneDrive and SharePoint appear here without the Remove link. This has been an overview on managing your account and connected services in Excel. Excel 365 workbooks can be saved to OneDrive, Microsoft's cloud storage service. With OneDrive, you can access your documents from any location with an internet connection. In this video, you'll learn how to save Excel 365 content to OneDrive. OneDrive is a Microsoft service used to store files online. You can access OneDrive from any location with an internet connection. To save this Excel workbook to my OneDrive account, click the File tab at the top left. The File Backstage view opens. From the File menu on the left, click on Save As. The Save As page opens. Note that if you have already added a OneDrive account, then it'll appear in the Save Location options at the top left of the page. If the OneDrive account hasn't been added, in the Other Locations section, you can click on Add a Place, select OneDrive, and then add the account information. I'll click on my OneDrive account. Now on the right at the top, you have the option to rename the file and choose the file type you'd like to save it as. Below, you'll also see a list of folders and workbooks that have already been saved to your OneDrive account. To save this file, click the Save button to the right of the Save as File Type drop-down. The File Backstage view closes, and I'm navigated back to my Excel workbook. You will be able to verify that your workbook has been successfully saved to OneDrive, because in the workbook title is the word Saved. And at the top left corner you'll also see that the autosave feature has been turned on, meaning any changes made will now be automatically saved and uploaded to OneDrive. Note you can turn off this feature by toggling the autosave switch. Note also that if I click on the workbook title, in the drop-down I can see the save location of this file, which is OneDrive. You can also change the save location within OneDrive for your file. Click on the save location, and a Choose a Location window opens. Here you'll see a list of your OneDrive folders. I'd like to save this file to the Documents folder, so I'll click on that. Then at the bottom right, click the Move Here button. The window closes, and I've now successfully saved this file to a different folder in OneDrive. To access a OneDrive workbook via Excel, click the File tab to open the File Backstage view. From the File menu, click on Open. On the left of the Open page are different save locations. Click on OneDrive, and on the right the folder where you've saved your file to will display. To see all of the workbooks and files saved to OneDrive, click the up arrow button at the top center. I'll then click on the In Review folder, and any documents saved to this folder now display. I'll click on the Customer Purchases and IDs workbook file, and that Excel workbook now opens in another Excel window. This has been an overview on saving content to OneDrive in Excel. In Excel 365, you can enable collaboration on workbooks by sharing a link. You can also see workbooks that have been shared with you. In this video, you'll explore how to share an Excel 365 workbook via a link. Now, before sharing your file as a link, you first have to be sure that you've saved the document to your OneDrive account. There are two ways to verify this. If your document has been saved to OneDrive, in the workbook title will be the word saved. And if I click the workbook title, in the drop-down menu, I can see the save location of this file, which is indeed OneDrive. Now, once you've saved your document to your OneDrive account, you'll be able to share the link. There are two ways to do this. You can click the Share button at the top right corner of the Excel window, or you can click the File tab at the top left to navigate to the File Backstage view. From the File menu on the left, click on Share. The File Backstage view closes and a Send Link window opens. At the top of this window, you can modify the access permissions. Click on the currently set permission and the Link Settings menu appears. Here you have the option to let anyone with the link access the file, only people in your company, people with existing access or specific people. And at the bottom you have other permission settings. I'm happy with the current selection, people in my company with the link, so I'll navigate back by clicking the Cancel button at the bottom right. In the Send Link window, click inside the To field and type in the contact you want to send this file to. Then I'll select their name from the suggestion list. Below you have also the option to add a message. Click on the message field and I'll paste in a short message using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+V. To send this message, click the Send button on the right of the window, and a notification appears stating that the link to this file has been sent. Close this by clicking the X icon at the top right corner of it. Now I can also send a link via email. At the top right corner, click the Share button. The Send Link window once again opens. At the bottom left are the options to copy the link or to send it via Outlook. I'll click on Copy Link. The window refreshes, and a notification appears stating that the link to this file has been copied. Once the link has been copied, I can easily paste it into emails or messages to share with others. So I'll click on the Outlook app icon in the taskbar to open the new email message I've already prepared earlier. I've already added a recipient, subject and message to this email. To add the file link, I'll click inside the main email body and paste it using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+V. Then click the Send button at the top left. The Outlook window closes, and my email message has been sent. I'll close the link copied window by clicking the X icon at the top right. If other users have shared a link with you, you'll be able to easily access those files via the File menu. So click the File tab at the top left. From the File menu, click on Open. At the top left of the Open page is the option Shared with Me. Click this, and now on the right is a list of different workbooks that have been shared with your account. And to the right of each workbook is the name of the person who shared the file with you. From here, I'll select the workbook customer list. And that workbook opens in another Excel window. This has been an overview on sharing a workbook via link in Excel. In Excel 365, you can change the editing permissions for a link to be more restrictive or open. The permissions can even be changed after the link has been sent. In this video, you'll learn how to manage link access permissions in Excel. When you save a file on OneDrive or SharePoint, a link is automatically generated. You have a few different options to manage the link permissions. First, you need to access the Send Link window. There are two ways to do this. One way is to click the Share button at the top right corner of the Excel window. Another way to access it is via the File menu. Click the File tab at the top left. The Backstage view then opens. From the File menu on the left, click on Share. The Backstage view closes and the Send Link window opens. At the top of this window is the option to manage the link permissions. Currently, it's set to people in my company with the link can edit. If I click this, I'm then navigated to the Link Settings menu. Here I have a few different options regarding permissions for accessing this link. I can choose to allow anyone with the link to access this workbook. Only people in my company with the link. People with existing access or specific people. For example, if I select the option Anyone with the link, below in the Other Settings section, I can then choose the editing permissions. In order to allow other users to edit this workbook, be sure the Allow Editing box is checked. Next, I can set an expiration date. This is useful if you're sharing your document with users outside of your company and you want to give them a limited time access. Click the Set Expiration Date field and a mini calendar then displays. To navigate to the next month, click the down arrow button at the top right corner. And from here, I'll select the date December 15th. So after the 15th of December, the link to this workbook will become inactive. Next, you have also the option to set a password for your workbook, and the option to block the other users from downloading this workbook. Note that this option is currently unavailable, as the Allow Editing option is enabled. To save these permission settings, click the Apply button at the bottom right. I'm then navigated back to the Send Link window. To then send the link to another user, click the To field at the top and type in a person's name, then select them from the suggestion list. Then click the Send button on the right, and a notification appears stating that the link has been sent. Close this by clicking the X icon at the top right of it. You can then modify those link settings if you wish by clicking the Share button at the top right to open the Send Link window. I can then click on the Set Link permission at the top to access the Link Settings menu. From here, I'll select the option People with Existing Access. To save, click the Apply button at the bottom. To manage individuals who have access to this workbook, at the bottom of the window, click on the Shared With section. I'm then redirected to the Manage Access menu. From the Manage Access menu, you'll be able to see the links generated, the specific individuals who have access to your document, and their permission level. For example, if I want to remove the link for Anyone with the link can edit, click the three dots to the right of the link. From here, I can copy the link, manage the link settings, and see who I've shared this link with. To remove this link, at the top click the X icon to the right of the link. Then, to confirm that you want to delete the link, click the Delete Link button in the pop-up notification, and that link has been removed. Below the People You Specify link, I'll click the drop-down arrow to the right of the avatar. This then displays a list of the users who this link works for. I can stop sharing this link with this user by clicking the X icon to the right of their name. Then to confirm I want to remove their access, click the Remove button at the bottom of the pop-up notification. Leave the Manage Access window by clicking the X icon at the top right. This has been an overview on managing link access and permissions in Excel. In Excel 365, you can easily collaborate on a workbook in real time. Once you share a workbook saved to the cloud, you can see who is viewing and editing it, access their contact card or their SharePoint profile. You can even start a chat. In this video, you'll discover how to collaborate on an Excel workbook. I currently have the Outlook application open. At the top of my inbox is an unread email from my colleague Lisa, so I'll click on it to open it. In the email, I see that Lisa has mentioned me in a comment in an Excel workbook. At the top of the email is the name and link to the workbook. Below, I can see who mentioned me, the comment itself, and then the contents of the cell where the comment was made. If I scroll down, I also have the option to add a comment which I can use to respond to the comment without needing to leave Outlook, and the option Go to Comment, which would navigate me to the comment in an online version of Excel. I'll click the Add a Comment button. An Add a Comment field appears at the bottom of the email. Into this text field, I'll type out a reply. Then to add it, click the Insert button below the field. The Add a Comment field disappears. And if I scroll back up to the top of the email, below the comment made by Lisa is now the reply I just added. I'll close the Outlook window by clicking the X icon at the top right. And I'm then navigated to the Excel window where I have the document I was mentioned and already open. In the workbook, I can see that the comment was added to cell E1, as it has a purple icon at the top right corner of the cell, indicating a comment has been made here. If I hover over that cell, the comment window opens showing the original comment made by Lisa, and then below is the reply I added from the Outlook application. At the top right corner of the ribbon, I can see my colleague's avatar. This means that Lisa also has this document open and is working on it. If you hover over the avatar, a pop-up displays stating the name of the user and the cell location they are currently on. If I click on the avatar, a drop-down menu appears with the options to go to the cell location where Lisa currently is, to open her contact card, or to join a group chat. I'll select the option Open Contact Card. And on the right of the window, Lisa's contact card now displays. Here I can see my colleague's information, such as her name, avatar, contact information, LinkedIn profile, and memberships. You can easily message a person via their contact card by either clicking on the email icon at the top of the card or by clicking on their email address link in the contact section. This will then open a new email message in your default email client, and their email will be automatically added into the To field. And I'll quickly check which cell Lisa is working on by clicking her avatar again. And from the drop-down menu, select the option Go to Location. And cell F26 is now highlighted in the workbook, meaning Lisa is currently on this cell. And you can also see a blue circle with her initials LW to the right of that cell, which also indicates her current location. And if you hover over this icon, her full name will then display. This can be helpful if you have a document with multiple worksheets and you need to quickly find where other users are editing. This has been an overview on collaborating on an Excel workbook. An Excel 365 workbook contains properties with additional information, such as the author, modification dates, and a host of other categories. Once you access the information, you can modify it. In this video, you'll discover how to edit workbook properties in Excel. To access your document's properties, click the File tab at the top left to navigate to the Backstage view. From the File menu on the left, click on Info. The Info page then opens on the right. On the far right of the page is a section called Properties. Here you can see document information such as the size, title, tags, or categories if any have been added. You can also modify any of these properties. For example, I'll add a title by clicking inside the Add a Title field, and then type out a title for my document. Next, you can also add tags to make your document easier to search for. Below, I'll add a category by clicking the Add a Category field, and then I'll type in some information. Below is a Related Dates section. Here you'll find information such as the date the document was last modified, the creation date, or when it was last printed. Next is the Related People section, where you can see the author of the document and the user who last modified it. Here, you can hover over a user, and their contact card will then display. And for example, if I right-click on my username, a menu will display with options to copy, remove the person as the author, edit this property, add the contact to favorites, edit the contact, or to open the contact card. If you'd like to add an additional author, you can do that by clicking on the Add an Author field below the original author's name. Type in a contact and then select their name from the suggestion list. Click outside of the field, and that user has now been added as an author of this document. You can also modify your document properties by going to the Advanced Properties menu. To do this, scroll back up and to the right of the Properties heading is a drop-down button. Click this, and from the menu, select the option Advanced Properties. A Properties dialog box then opens, and the Summary tab at the top center is selected. Here you'll find the same options as in the Properties section, such as a title and author, but you'll also find additional options such as the subject. You can add a manager, company name, category, keywords, comments, and a hyperlink base, etc. I'll click inside the company field and add a company name. Then, at the top left, I'll switch to the General tab. Here you'll find information such as the document type, the save location, size, the Microsoft Disk operating system name, the date it was created, modified, and last accessed. Switch to the Statistics tab, and here you'll see the same date information as previously shown, as well as who the document was last saved by, revision number, and total editing time. If you have a workbook with multiple worksheets, switch to the Contents tab. From here, you'll see a list of all of the worksheets in this workbook. Lastly, switch to the Custom tab. Here, you can add custom information such as additional properties regarding clients if this is a client-based worksheet, as well as destination or even department. Once you're done modifying the advanced properties, click the OK button at the bottom right corner, and you'll see any changes you've made on the right-hand side of the info page. This has been an overview on editing workbook properties in Excel. In Excel 365, it may be necessary to keep track of changes made to a shared workbook. You can choose to highlight changes and then accept or reject them. In this video, you'll discover how to follow and track changes in Excel. Before beginning, it's important to note that the Track Changes tool may not be available by default on the Review tab. If I switch to the Review tab, as you can see, the Track Changes tool is not available here. To add the tool to the ribbon, right-click on the ribbon and from the menu select the option Customize the ribbon. The Excel Options window then opens, and the Customize Ribbon tab on the left is selected. From the Customize the Ribbon section on the right, select the tab where you'd like to add the tool. Commands need to be added to custom groups. Below the Review tab, I have already created a custom group called Tracking, so I'll select that. Then at the top left, click the Choose Commands from drop-down, and from the list select the option All Commands. All of the available commands now display in the list below. Scroll down this list until you find the Track Changes command. Select it from the list. Then between the two lists, click the Add button. The command now appears below the Tracking Custom group in the list on the right. To save these changes, click the OK button at the bottom right. The Excel Options window closes, and on the far right of the Review tab in the Tracking group is now the Track Changes tool. To activate this tool, click on it in the ribbon and from the drop-down menu choose the option Highlight Changes. A Highlight Changes dialog box then opens with various options to edit how changes are highlighted. At the top, I'll check the box next to Track Changes while editing to activate this feature. And now below, you can choose to highlight changes when, who, or where the changes have been made. The When option is already set, so I'll click the When drop-down and select the option Since I last saved. I'll then check the box next to Who to activate that option. I'm happy with the Set Who option Everyone, so I won't change it. To save, click the OK button at the bottom right. An Excel notification then appears stating that this action will now save the workbook. To continue, click the OK button. If I were to make a change to the workbook by, for example, selecting cell D4 and deleting its contents by pressing the backspace key, when I click outside of the cell, and then hover my mouse over it, a comment box then displays to the right of that cell, stating who has made the change, the time and date of the change, as well as the changes that were made. Now if I click the Track Changes drop-down again, in the menu is also the option Accept/Reject Changes. Click this, and an Excel notification appears stating that this action will now save the workbook. To continue, click the OK button. A Select Changes to Accept or Reject window opens. From here, choose the when, who, and where for the change you want to review. I'll, for example, click the Who drop-down, and from the list I can choose to review changes from everyone but me, or Helmutik, which is my company name. I'll select the option Homotic. Once you've selected the user you'd like to see changes for, click the OK button at the bottom. An Accept or Reject Changes dialog box opens displaying the changes made by the user I selected. To reject the change, you can select the Reject button at the bottom left. This would restore your document to its previous version. To accept the change, you can click the Accept button at the bottom left corner. If you have users that are making the same changes, at the bottom right are also the options to accept all or reject all. I'll select the Reject button, and I can see that the cell information previously removed has now been restored. To stop tracking changes, click the Track Changes tool, and from the menu select Highlight Changes. At the top of the Highlight Changes window, uncheck the box next to Track Changes while editing. Then save by clicking the OK button at the bottom. This has been an overview on following and tracking changes in Excel. In Excel 365, you can open an older version of a workbook or check it out so that no one can edit it at the same time. This is useful when multiple people are working on the workbook. In this video, you'll discover how to manage your workbook's version history. Once you've saved your document to OneDrive, you'll be able to see the document's version history. To view the version history, go to the top left of the ribbon and click on your workbook's title, and at the bottom of the drop-down menu, click the version history link. A version history side panel opens on the right of the window. Here, you can see a list of any changes made to the document. You will see the date the changes were made, the user who made the changes, and to the right of a user's name is the time the edits were saved. Below each user who made an edit is the option to see that specific person's previous version of the document. For example, yesterday my colleague Lisa made a change at 14:21. To see this older file version, I'll click on the Open Version link below this edit. And a new Excel window opens with a read-only previous version of this workbook. If I'd like to restore this older version of the document, at the bottom center of the Tools ribbon, click the Restore button. Once you select Restore, the other Excel document window will automatically close, and Excel updates the document to the previous version that I've just restored. You also have the option to access the version history via the File menu. Click the File tab at the top left to navigate to the Backstage view. From the File menu on the left, click on Info. The Info page opens on the right, and at the bottom left you'll find a Version History button. Click this button. The Backstage view closes and the Version History side panel once again opens on the right. Again, here you can view and restore previous file versions. At the top, you'll now see that a change was made today where I restored an older version of the file modified by Lisa. If you're working on a document at the same time as other users, you can choose to check out the workbook. When a workbook is checked out, other users can't access it. Therefore, you can modify the document without worrying that other users are also making changes. To check out a file, first switch to the File tab. From the File menu, click on Info. Scroll down the Info page, and at the bottom left is the option Manage Workbook. Click the Manage Workbook button, and from the drop-down menu, select the option Checkout. Now you're able to modify the document and save it to OneDrive. Once you're done making those changes, you can check the document back in. Switch to the File tab. In the File menu, click the Info tab. Now, at the top left of the Info page is a checked out workbook notification. Here I have the option to discard the checkout. If I click this, I'll lose any changes I've made to the checked out version of the document. But if I want those changes saved, I'll click the Check-in button on the left of the notification. A check-in window opens. At the bottom, I could also add some version comments. Click the OK button at the bottom right to save. I'm then returned to the Excel main interface, and the document is now open in read-only mode. To change this so I'm able to edit the workbook, at the bottom center of the ribbon, click the Edit Workbook button. I can now edit this workbook, and other users are now able to edit this document as well. This has been an overview on managing a workbook's version history in Excel. In Excel 365, you can protect data you've inserted into your workbook. You can protect individual worksheets, prevent other users from restructuring the workbook, or lock it with a password. In this video, you'll learn how to protect an Excel workbook. I have numerous worksheets in this workbook. To protect the 2021 Emissions Map worksheet, at the top of the Tools ribbon, click the Review tab. On the right of the ribbon, in the Protect group, click the Protect Sheet button. A Protect Sheet window opens. At the top, in order to lock this sheet, type in a password into the field. Below, also make sure the box next to Protect Worksheet and Contents of Locked Cells is checked. Next is a list with checkboxes, which you can use to choose what you'll allow users of the worksheet to do. Here, for example, users can select locked and unlocked cells, but they aren't allowed to format cells or columns. I'd like to allow users to format rows, so I'll check the box next to that. Once you're happy with the selection, click the OK button at the bottom right. A Confirm Password dialog box opens, prompting me to re-enter the worksheet password. So I'll type that out in the field at the top, then click the OK button at the bottom. Now, if I or another user tries to modify this worksheet by, for example, selecting a cell and changing its contents, an Excel warning notification appears stating that this sheet is protected, so no changes can be made. Click the OK button at the bottom to close this. To unprotect a sheet, from the Review tab in the Protect group, you could click the Unprotect Sheet button. Alternatively, go to the bottom left and right-click on the Protected Worksheet tab. From the menu, select the option Unprotect Sheet. An Unprotect Sheet prompt displays. Here, re-enter the password into the field, and then click the OK button, and this worksheet is once again unprotected. Besides protecting worksheets, you can also protect specific ranges so that only users with the password can modify them. To do this, select a cell range within your worksheet. Then from the Protect group, click the Allow Edit Ranges button, and Allow Users to Edit Ranges dialog box opens. To create your range, click the New button at the top right. A new range pane displays. At the top is a title field, which I'll use to rename this range. Next, I could also choose to modify the cell reference. And at the bottom, I'll click inside the range password field and type out a password. Once done, click the OK button at the bottom. A Confirm Password window opens. Into the field, re-enter the password. Then click the OK button. In the Allow Users to Edit Ranges window, my specified range now appears at the top. Select it, and then click the Apply button at the bottom right corner. Once that information has been applied, click the OK button at the bottom center to leave this window. It's important to note that the range protection will not go into effect until you activate Worksheet Protection. So as is, anyone can still modify the selected range. To activate Worksheet Protection, click the Protect Sheet button. At the bottom of the Protect Sheet window, click the OK button. Now, if I select a cell within the protected range and modify it by pressing Delete, an Unlock Range window opens, prompting me to enter a password in order to edit the cell. Once I type out the password and press the OK button, the information in that cell is then removed, and I can now continue editing the protected range. Click the Unprotect Sheet button to unprotect this worksheet. To modify your allowed edit ranges, in the Protect group, click the Allow Edit Ranges button. In the dialog box, you can select your range, and on the right are buttons to modify the range or to delete it. I'll click the Delete button. That range has been removed. Click the OK button at the bottom to close this window. To protect your entire workbook, from the Protect group, click the Protect Workbook button. In the Protect Structure and Windows dialog box, type in a password into the field. Note that this action is optional. Then below, make sure the Protect Workbook for Structure option is checked. Then click the OK button. Into the Confirm Password field, re-enter the password and click OK. The entire workbook is now protected, and users are now blocked from adding or removing any sheets. To unprotect your workbook, click the Protect Workbook button again, re-enter the password into the Unprotect Workbook dialog box, and click the OK button. This has been an overview on protecting a workbook in Excel. Comments are a useful way of collaborating and coordinating within an Excel workbook. You can leave notes or questions attached to data entries. In this video, you'll explore how to manage comments in Excel. A comment is a threaded conversation with the name and avatar of the person who left the comment itself, as well as the time and date that the comment was left. To browse comments, switch to the Review tab. In the center of the ribbon is a Comments group. Here you can either click the Previous or Next comment button to browse through the comments, or you can click the Show Comments button to open the comments side pane on the right. Displayed here is a complete list of all of the comments made in this workbook. To close this panel, click the X icon at the top right. The process to browse and show notes is similar. To the right of the Comments group is a Notes group. From here, click the Notes drop-down. And in the menu you can either click on Previous Note or Next Note to browse through the notes. To display all of the notes made, click the Notes drop-down again and select the option Show All Notes. Now, the interesting thing with notes is that you can convert them into comments. To do this, I'll click the Notes drop-down again and select the option Convert to Comments. An Excel notification then displays stating that when you convert a note into a comment, any images or formatting in them will be removed. To continue, click the Convert All Notes button at the bottom. And now, if I go over to the cell where the note was made, a comment window now appears here instead. From the Comments group, I'll click the Show Comments button to open the Comments side pane. You'll notice that some comments contain an @ symbol and then a person's name. This indicates that this user was mentioned in this comment. Mentions are used to direct comments at particular users. If you'd like to reply to a comment, below the comment is a mention or reply field. Click inside this, and I'll insert an @ symbol and begin typing out a user's name, then select them from the suggestion list. So this way, Lisa will know I'm addressing her directly. Next, I can type out my reply. Then click the green Post Reply button at the bottom right of the comment, and my reply now appears directly below the original comment. To add my own comment, first I'll select a cell where I'd like to add one. Then I can either click the New Comment button in the Comments group, or I can right-click on that cell, and from the menu select New Comment. A new comment box will then appear in the side pane. Into its text field type out your comment. Then click the Post Comment button at the bottom right. You can't edit comments made by other users, but you can edit comments you've made. To do this, click the 3 dots to the right of one of your comments, and from the menu, select Edit Comment. The comment text field reopens, and you can now make changes to your comment. Once you're finished editing, click the Save button at the bottom right. To remove a comment, click the 3 dots at the top right of a comment. From the menu, you can either choose to delete the threads or remove the comment by marking it as resolved. I'll select Resolve Thread. A resolved comment is then grayed out, but at the top right of it, you can choose to reopen the resolved comment or delete it. You can also remove comments by selecting the cell where the comment is contained, and from the Comments group, click the Delete button. This has been an overview on managing comments in Excel. The portable document format, or PDF for short, is an easily shared and printed format that can't be modified. It can be opened and viewed by most operating systems and devices. In this video, you'll learn how to save your Excel 365 workbook as a PDF. Before sharing your worksheet, it's a good idea to adjust your workbook's page layout. Once this is done, Excel can quickly convert your worksheet to a PDF. To do this, first select the cell range you want to export. Then switch to the Page Layout tab. On the left of the ribbon, in the Page Setup group, click the Print Area drop-down. And from the menu, click on Set Print Area. Another way you can adjust the layout is by using the View modes. Go to the bottom right corner of the window and click the Page Break Preview button. The worksheet zooms out, and now I can see where the page breaks off and where the printout will start and end. As you can see, my table will be separated again because I have a dotted line between columns E and F of my table. In order to adjust this page, I'm going to click and drag this dotted line towards the right-hand side to widen the page break. Now, to export this workbook as a PDF, first switch to the File tab. From the File menu on the left, click on Export. The Export page then opens. At the top left of the page, make sure the option Create PDF/XPS document is selected. Then on the right, click the Create PDF/XPS button. A Publish as PDF or XPS dialog box opens. From here, I can choose a save location for the document. From the folder list on the left, I'll select the Contact folder. At the bottom center, in the File Name field, I can see that my workbook name has been made the file name. I could change this if I wished. Then below, in the Save as Type drop-down, I can see that the file format selected is PDF. If PDF wasn't chosen, you could click this drop-down and then select PDF from the list. At the bottom left is the option to have the file automatically open after publishing. To activate this feature, check the box next to it. At the bottom right, you can choose to optimize for a standard or minimum publishing size. If you're publishing this PDF online, the minimum size option is recommended. I'm not doing this, so I'll leave the standard option selected. To finish saving the PDF, click the Publish button at the bottom right. As I enabled the Open File After Publishing option, the PDF file version of my workbook automatically opens in my default browser window. This has been an overview on saving your workbook as a PDF in Excel. In Excel 365, you can get a summarized overview of the workbook. This information includes the number of sheets, charts, tables, and external connections. In this video, you'll discover how to view workbook statistics in Excel. Workbook statistics provide an overview of the counts and other information about the worksheet and workbook. In your workbook statistics, you'll find information such as the number of sheets, tables, formulas, charts, and pivot tables in your document. To view the workbook statistics, switch to the Review tab. And on the far left of the ribbon, in the Proofing group, click the Workbook Statistics button. A Workbook Statistics window opens. Note that you can also use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+G to open this window. At the top is information about the current worksheet I have open, and below is data about the whole workbook. In the Current Sheet section, I can see the cell location of the end of this sheet, how many cells contain data, how many tables are in this sheet, the number of formulas, and the number of charts. In the Workbook section, I can view the number of sheets in this workbook, the number of cells containing data, how many tables there are, the number of pivot tables, the amount of formulas used, and how many charts there are. And in this way, you can have a quick overview of your workbook. To close this window, click the OK button at the bottom right. This has been an overview on viewing workbook statistics in Excel.
A pivot table can be used to reanalyze data that has been inserted into a table or worksheet. Excel 365's pivot tool is extremely flexible and can be modified in a variety of different ways to extract previously unseen patterns and trends from the data. In this video, you'll explore how to create a pivot table in Excel. In my worksheet is a table containing data about customer orders. To create a pivot table using this data, first I'll select the entire table's cell range. Then switch to the Insert tab. And on the far left of the ribbon in the Tables group, click the Recommended Pivot Tables button. A Recommended Pivot Tables window opens. On the left are various recommended pivot table options, and on the right is a preview of the currently selected pivot table option. For example, here in the first option, Excel is suggesting to create a pivot table for sum of purchase type by metropolitan county. The second option is suggesting a table for sum of purchase total by metropolitan county. And the third option is suggesting a table for count of customer ID by metropolitan county. Alternatively, you could create a pivot table from scratch by selecting the blank pivot table button at the bottom left corner. To insert the currently selected pivot table, you'd click the OK button at the bottom right. But for now, I'll close this window by clicking the Cancel button at the bottom right. Alternatively, you can insert a pivot table by clicking the Pivot Table button in the Tables group. A pivot table from Table or Range dialog box opens. Here it's divided into 3 sections. At the top you can select the table or range you want to analyze. As I've already selected my table cell range, that range reference has been automatically inserted in the Table Range field. Next, you can choose to place the pivot table in a new worksheet or an existing one. I'm happy with the new worksheet selection. And finally, you can choose whether you want to analyze multiple tables. Note that this is optional. But if you do want to activate this feature, just check the box next to add this data to the data model. When you're happy with the configurations, click the OK button at the bottom right to create your pivot table. A new worksheet then opens. The blank pivot table worksheet is where you'll build the report. By default, a Pivot Table Analyze tab opens on the ribbon, and a Pivot Table Fields side pane displays on the right. In the side pane is where the data will be pulled from. Here displayed first are the fields, and these fields correspond to the column headings from my table. Below is then the various areas: filters, columns, rows, and values. This is where you can drag the above column headings to in order to create a unique point of analysis. You can change the arrangement of the Pivot Tables Fields pane by clicking the Tools button displayed as a cog icon at the top right. And in the drop-down menu are the options to have the Fields and Areas sections stacked, displayed side by side, have the Fields section only, the Areas section only, and at the bottom choose to sort the data alphabetically or in source order. Click Away to close this menu. Note also on the far right of the Pivot Table Analyze tab in the Show group, you'll find options to show or hide the field list, show or hide buttons, and field headers. To build a pivot table, first you need to drag the listed fields in the side pane to one of the areas below. For example, I'll drag the company field down to the column area. And now in the worksheet, the company names are being displayed as columns. I'll also drag the purchase type field down to the rows area, and then the purchase total field to the value area. So now in the pivot table, each company's purchase total for each product type displays. You can also ensure that no updates are made to the pivot table data by going to the bottom of the side pane and checking the box next to Defer Layout Update. Once this is selected, you need to click the Update button at the bottom right to refresh the data to show any changes made. You can visualize data values by hovering your cursor over the relevant cell in the pivot table report. For example, if I hover over this cell with the value of 790, a pop-up then displays providing more information on this data. To clear a pivot table, from the center of the Pivot Table Analyze tab, click the Actions drop-down button. From the menu, select the option Clear, and from the drop-down, click the option Clear All. This resets the pivot table to the blank state, but doesn't delete it. This has been an overview on creating a pivot table in Excel. Excel 365's pivot tables are extremely customizable. You can change the different fields that have been added, change the calculations that are performed, or even update your pivot table to ensure it references the most recent underlying data. In this video, you'll explore how to edit a pivot table in Excel. In my worksheet, I already have a pivot table inserted, where each location's purchase total for each product type is visible. To activate a pivot table, simply click on any of its cells. When you do this, the pivot table tools are then activated. These are the two contextual tabs, Pivot Table Analyze and Design, and the Pivot Table Field side pane on the right. To hide these tools, click outside of the table in the worksheet. I'll click on a cell within the table again to re-show the tools. If, for example, you close the field side pane by clicking the X icon at the top right of it, and you later need to use the pane, you can display it again by switching to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. And on the far right in the Show group, click the Field List button. The Pivot Table Field side panel then reopens. When working with pivot tables, the data you're pulling from the original table may be changed or updated. In this case, you'll also need to manually update your pivot table to ensure your analysis is based on the latest data. At the bottom left, I'll switch to the Customer Data Worksheet tab, and I'll change the value in cell G2 to £200. I'll then click the Sheet 2 Worksheet tab at the bottom left. Click on a table cell to activate it, and then switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. From the data group in the center, click the Refresh button, and from the drop-down, select the option Refresh. Note that the values within my table update accordingly to account for the change made in the Customer Data Worksheet. Note that you can also refresh your table by right-clicking on it, and from the shortcut menu, select the option Refresh. Click Away to close this. You can also move fields from one area of the pivot table to another, which will affect the appearance and analysis of the table. For example, in the Pivot Table Field side pane, I'll click and drag the Purchase Type field from the Rows area to the Columns area. You can also move fields by expanding the field in the area where it currently is. So from the Columns area, I'll click the arrow next to Metropolitan County, and then move it using one of the options in the menu. For example, I'll move this field to Row Labels. And note the updated table. Purchase type now occupies the columns while the row is reserved for metropolitan counties. You can remove fields from the report by clicking the arrow next to a field, and from the menu select the option Remove Field. Click Away to close this. Or alternatively, you can click and then drag the field back to the field list at the top of the pane. A third way to remove fields is by unchecking their box from the field list itself. I'll scroll down this list and uncheck the box next to Purchase Type, and that's been removed from the report. I'll quickly re-add it by checking that box again. You can further edit specific field settings. From the Area section, click an arrow next to a field, and from the menu, select Field Settings. A Field Settings window opens, and from here you can rename this field and configure other options. For now, I'll close this by clicking the Cancel button at the bottom right. In the Values area, by default, the calculation performed on values is Sum. You can change this by first selecting the relevant cell within the pivot table. And on the left of the Pivot Table Analyze tab in the Active group, click the Field Settings button. A Value Field Settings window opens. At the top again you can rename the field. Below, the Summarize Values by tab is selected. And from here you can change the calculation used on the value fields to, for example, count, average, max or min, etc. From the list I'll select average. Then click the OK button at the bottom right to save. As you can see, the values in the table update accordingly to show the average instead of the sum. This has been an overview on editing a pivot table in Excel. If you want to improve the appearance of a pivot table, you can change its formatting settings. In Excel 365, you can change your pivot table style, color settings, and even the font that is used for your data values and field names. In this video, you'll explore how to format a pivot table in Excel. I already have a pivot table inserted into a worksheet and activated by clicking on one of its cells. You can change a pivot table's formatting settings to improve its appearance. To access the pivot table style settings, first switch to the Design tab. And in the center of the ribbon is the Pivot Table Styles group where you can apply a new preset style. Expand the Styles gallery by clicking the More button on the right of the menu. And you can then choose a style from the Light, Medium or Dark category. From the Dark category, I'll select this dark blue style to apply it. To the left in the Pivot Table Style Options group, there are checkboxes to apply special formatting to column and row headers. For example, I can uncheck the box next to column headers. and the formatting in the column header cells has been removed. I'll check that box again. And you can make the rows and columns banded to improve legibility. So if I check the box next to banded rows, now every second row in the table is a darker shade of blue. I'll uncheck this box. If you don't like any of the presets, you can create a custom style. Expand the Pivot Table Styles menu again, and at the bottom select the option New Pivot Table Style. A new Pivot Table Style window opens. At the top is a name field where you can name your custom style. I'll type Custom Style 1 into this field. Next is a table element list, where you need to choose the element you'll be customizing. You can select the whole table or specific rows and columns. I'll leave the option Whole Table selected. Then click the Format button below this list. A Format Cells window then opens, and from here you've tabs where you can edit the font, the surrounding borders, and the background fill. On the left of the Fill tab, I'll select this light orange color for the background of my table. Then click the OK button at the bottom right to return to the New Pivot Table Style window. On the right of this window, you'll find a preview of the formatting choice currently selected. This time from the table element list, I'll select the header row. Then click the Format button. In the Format Cells window, switch to the Border tab. In the Presets section, I'll apply an outline. Then from the Line Style section on the left, I'll select this Thick Line Border option. Click the OK button at the bottom. Click the OK button at the bottom right to save the new style. If we expand the Pivot Table Styles gallery, at the top is now a custom section containing my custom style. Hovering over it will show a preview of it applied. I prefer the predefined style currently applied, so I'll click away to close this. On the far left of the Design tab, within the Layout group, you've different display options. Click the Subtotals drop-down, and from this menu, you can choose to hide or show subtotals at the bottom or top of the group. I'll select Do Not Show Subtotals, and those have now been removed from the top of each group. Click the Grand Totals drop-down, and from this menu, you can adjust how and where grand totals get displayed. I'll select Off for rows and columns, and the grand total column is no longer displayed. Click the Report Layout button, and in this menu, you can show the report layout in compact, outline, or tabular form, and choose to repeat all item labels or not. I'll select Show in Outline form. Now in my table, each row field is in a separate column. Outline form layout may be useful when you want to show all the field names as heading labels and aren't concerned about the width of the pivot table. And then click the Blank Rows drop-down, and from here you can choose to insert a blank line after each item or not. I'll select Remove Blank Line after each item, and the blank line between each group in the table has been removed. You can also format your table by switching to the Home tab and use the various formatting options available in the font and alignment groups. This has been an overview on formatting a pivot table in Excel. A slicer is a special filter tool which is used to adjust the data that is visible in a pivot table. You can use a slicer to quickly identify the data filters that are currently applied, or use multiple slicers to gradually filter out any data that is not required for the task at hand. In this video, you'll explore how to insert a slicer in a pivot table in Excel. I already have a pivot table inserted into this worksheet, with company names being displayed in the columns and purchase type and date being displayed in the rows. To insert a slicer, first switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. Then on the left of the ribbon within the filter group, select the Insert Slicer button. An Insert Slicers window opens. Here you'll find a list of fields and checkboxes, which you can use to choose which fields you want to insert slicers for. I'll check the boxes next to company and purchase type. Then click the OK button at the bottom right. Slicers exist in their own individual panels, so a slicer for company and one for purchase type now appear in the worksheet. Slicers can be rearranged by clicking and dragging them to another location using the Move cursor. Slicers act in a similar way to filters. For example, in the purchase type slicer, if I only wanted to view bathroom sales, I'd select that. And now within my pivot table, only bathroom related data is shown. You can also apply filters by combining slicers. So if I wanted to narrow down the table to only show bathroom sales for the company Homotic, from the company slicer I'll select Homotic. And again note the updated table. Furthermore, you can apply multiple criteria at the same time using the multi-select button. At the top right of the purchase type slicer, I'll toggle the multi-select button by clicking it. With this toggled, I can now select more than one field in this slicer. For example, I'll now also select kitchen and living room, so that data is now shown in the table. To remove a chosen field, simply re-click on it to remove it from the filtering. As you can see, you're able to filter and sort data in a few clicks thanks to slicers. To clear filtering on a slicer, click the Clear Filter button at the top right of a slicer. Note that this has only cleared the filtering for the selected purchase type slicer. You'll need to clear each individual slicer to remove all filtering, so I'll also click the Clear Filter button at the top right of the company slicer. To delete a slicer, simply select it and then press the Delete key on your keyboard. And the purchase type slicer has been removed from this worksheet. Slicers are a good alternative to filters, as they allow you to manipulate data in a more visually intuitive way. This has been an overview on inserting a slicer in a pivot table in Excel. If you use pivot tables with slicers on a frequent basis, then you may find it useful to know how to modify these tools to meet your needs. In Excel 365, you can change your slicer's style and appearance using a variety of different formatting tools. In this video, you'll explore how to customize a pivot table slicer in Excel. I already have a workbook open with the slicer inserted. Let's look at the different ways we can customize this. First, select the slicer to activate the Slicer tab. Click this tab, and on the far left of the ribbon in the Slicer group, you can update the name of the slicer using the Slicer caption field. I'll click inside this field and rename the slicer to City. Then press the Enter key to save this change. Below this field is the Slicer Settings button. Click this and a Slicer Settings window opens. In this window, you can differentiate between the slicer name and the name to use in formulas, since by default the slicer name would be the same as the field it's based on. Below is also the option to rename the caption or even disable the header entirely. And at the bottom, you can change how the slicer items are sorted and filtered, in either ascending or descending order. Use custom lists when sorting, and to hide or show items with no data. Click the OK button at the bottom right to return to the worksheet. It may be a good idea to change your slicer's style to help distinguish it from the table. On the left of the Slicer tab in the Slicer Styles group, you'll find a gallery of preset styles that you can apply. Click the More button on the right of this menu to expand it, and you can choose a style from the light or dark category. From the dark category, I'll select this dark orange style to apply it to the slicer. You can also resize the slicer itself. This is especially handy to know when working with multiple slicers. Simply click and drag one of the surrounding handles inwards to reduce its size, or outwards to increase it. You can also adjust the width and height manually on the right of the slicer tab in the size group. You can use the arrows on the right of either the height or width field to adjust the size, or insert the figures manually. For example, I'll click inside the height field and increase it to 8.3. Then I'll decrease the width to 5 centimeters using the down arrow button. Note that adjusting the slicer width will automatically adjust the button width too, and you can see that change in the buttons group to the left. For more extensive formatting options, click the dialog box launcher button at the bottom right of the size group. This then opens a Format Slicer side panel on the right, where you can configure the position, layout, and size of your slicer with more precision. Close this panel by clicking the X icon at the top right. If you don't like any of the style presets, you can create a custom style for your slicer. Expand the Slicer Styles menu by clicking the More button on the right. And at the bottom of the menu, click the option New Slicer Style. A new slicer style window opens. At the top is a name field where you can name your custom style. I'll type Custom Style 1 into this field. Next is an element list where you need to choose the element you'll be customizing. You can select the whole slicer, or you can just customize the header, selected item with data, selected item with no data, etc. I'll leave the option whole slicer selected. Then click the Format button below this list. A Format Slicer element window then opens. And from here you've tabs where you can edit the font, the surrounding borders, and the background fill of your slicer. For example, on the right of the Fill tab, I'll apply this grey colour to the background of my slicer. Once you're finished customizing, click the OK button at the bottom right to close this window. On the right of the new slicer style window, you'll find a preview of the formatting choices currently selected. Click the OK button at the bottom right to then save the new style. To then apply your custom style, expand the Slicer Styles menu again. At the top is now a section called Custom, and from here you'll find any custom styles you've created. So I'll select the Custom Style 1 option, and that's now been applied to my slicer. This has been an overview on customizing a pivot table slicer in Excel. It would be time-consuming to create a pivot table from scratch every time you'd like to use one in your workbooks. So to save you the trouble, in Excel you can move, copy and reuse any pivot table that you create. In this video, you'll explore how to copy and reuse a pivot table in Excel. You can copy and paste pivot tables like any other table in Excel. First, select the pivot table cell range. Then you can right-click on the selection and choose the option Copy from the shortcut menu. Or alternatively, you can use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl and the letter C to copy the selection. Next, select the area where you'd like the copied table to be placed. I'll select cell D3 so the tables appear beside each other. Then use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl and the letter V to paste the table. And just like that, we've copied and pasted a pivot table. You can select and move pivot tables in other ways. With the pivot table activated, switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. Then from the center of the ribbon, click the Actions drop-down button. And from the menu, click the option Select. In this menu, you've options to select the labels and values of the pivot table. Only the values, only the labels, or the entire pivot table. I'll select the option Entire Pivot Table. And the entire second pivot table in my worksheet is now selected. If you don't want multiple copies of your table, you can move them rather than copying. From the Actions drop-down button, you can select the option Move Pivot Table. and a Move Pivot Table window opens. From here, you've two options: to move the selected table to a new worksheet or to an existing one. The option Existing Worksheet is selected, so I won't change it. To then choose which worksheet to move it to, click the up arrow button on the right of the location field, and then I'll select the Metropolitan Counties Worksheet tab at the bottom left. That worksheet then opens. I'd like it moved to cell D1, so I'll select that. Then press the down arrow button on the right of the field. That cell reference now displays in the location field. To finish moving the copied table, click the OK button at the bottom right. As you can see, the pivot table has been placed in the Metropolitan Counties worksheet. And if I click the Sheet 1 worksheet tab at the bottom left, the second table no longer appears here because we moved it instead of copying it. Note also that once moved, the table will still be editable as before. All links and fields will remain in place. We now have multiple pivot tables. However, they are still pulling information from the same source. You can then edit a copied pivot table without it affecting the other copies of the same table. This has been an overview on copying and reusing a pivot table in Excel. When filtering pivot table data in Excel, you can choose between label and value filters. Label filters allows you to show and hide data based on the label associated with the data values, whereas value filters can be used to analyze the actual values associated with the pivot table's entries. In this video, you'll explore how to use label and value filters in Excel. First, let's look at applying label filters to our row labels. I'll use the date data for this example. Open the filter menu by clicking the arrow icon beside the associated label, which for me is row labels. From this menu, you can access label filters by hovering over the option Date Filters. And a side menu opens on the right, with different date-related presets such as tomorrow, next week, last month, or this year, etc., as well as customizable queries like equals, before, after, and between. I'll select the filter option last quarter. So now only dates from last quarter are being displayed. Next, let's look at using value filters. I'll click the arrow button again to open the filter menu for rows, and then hover over the option Value Filters. The Value Filters side menu opens on the right. Value filters differ from labels in that they create filter queries based on data values. From this menu, you can apply specific filters such as equals and does not equals, greater than and less than, or use the between and not between options to create filtered parameters for your values. I'll select the option less than. A value filters window opens. From here, I need to set what the sum of the purchase total is less than. Into the field on the far right, I'll type in 300, so that only totals less than 300 will be displayed. Then click the OK button at the bottom right. As you can see, the filter has been successfully applied. You can even apply custom label filters. I'll reopen the row label filter menu once again. Hover over the option Date Filters, and from the bottom of the menu select Custom Filter. A date filter window opens. Because we're filtering the date, here we're essentially choosing a time period to view data from. Click the drop-down menu on the left, and from here you can set the parameters. I'll select the option Is After. You can then click the Date Picker button on the far right of the field, and from the mini calendar choose a date. I'll click the arrow button at the top left to navigate to the month August. Then select the date the 11th, so that we only see results following this date. Click the OK button at the bottom to apply the filter. So now we're only seeing values from after the 11th of August. thanks to our custom filter. To clear filtering, expand the filter menu again and select the option Clear Filter. The chosen filters are now no longer applied to the table. Alternatively, you can right-click on a filtered value. In the shortcut menu, hover over Filter, and from the side menu, select Clear Filter From. Click Away to close this menu. This has been an overview on using label and value filters in Excel. In Excel 365, pivot tables are highly customizable. You can use the pivot table options to change how null data values and errors are displayed, customize which data controls are active and visible in the table, and even ensure you're working on the most recent information by telling Excel to refresh the data every time you open a workbook. In this video, you'll explore how to configure a pivot table further in Excel. First, let's look at the different ways we can configure a pivot table's display options. As you can see, I've a pivot table with grand totals. With the table activated, first switch to the Design tab. And on the far left of the ribbon in the Layout group, click the Grand Totals button. In the drop-down menu are options to show or hide for rows and columns, or to show grand totals for only rows or columns. For example, I'll select the option Off for rows and columns. Note that the grand total column and row are no longer visible in the table. I'll reopen the Grand Totals menu and select the option On for rows and columns. And the grand total row and column now display. You can also access these options by switching to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. On the far left, click the Pivot Table button, and from the drop-down menu, select the Options button. A Pivot Table Options window opens. At the top, switch to the Totals and Filters tab. In the Grand Totals section at the top, you can uncheck the Show Grand Total for rows and columns boxes to hide the row and column totals. Then switch to the Layout and Format tab, where you've more display options. In the Format section, you can assign custom text or symbols to represent error values. Just check the box next to this option, then type in your text into the field on the right. Let's set this to a percentage sign. So now any error values will appear as percentage signs in the worksheet. Below this, you can also change how empty cells get displayed. Click the OK button at the bottom to apply your changes. And note the updated table. It's also important to be comfortable with display options related to printing. Reopen the Pivot Table menu and select Options again. From the Pivot Table Options window, switch to the Printing tab. From here, you can choose to print, expand or collapse buttons, repeat row labels on each printed page, and set print titles. Next, let's look at customizing the pivot table controls. Switch to the Display tab. From here, you can show or hide the expand and collapse buttons, and show or hide field captions and filter drop-downs by checking or unchecking the boxes next to them. Switch to the Data tab, and from here you can deactivate the Show Detail tool by unchecking the Enable Show Detail box. With this deactivated, double-clicking a row item won't open the Show Detail menu. Just below, you can activate the option to refresh data when opening the file. With this toggled, the data the pivot table is pulling will be automatically updated. It's a good idea to keep this checked if the original table's data updates frequently. Click the OK button at the bottom to save your changes. And in the Excel notification, click the OK button to confirm the change. This has been an overview on configuring a pivot table in Excel. Data that has been organized into a pivot table can be presented more visually in a pivot chart. You can create a pivot chart from scratch or convert data already in a pivot table to a chart format. In this video, you'll explore how to insert a pivot chart in Excel. To begin, let's look at creating a pivot chart from scratch. Like with normal charts, when creating a pivot chart, you need a table and data range to convert, which I already have here. Select the table cell range, then switch to the Insert tab. And in the center of the ribbon in the Charts group, click the Pivot Chart button. A Create Pivot Chart window opens, and from here we can configure the selection and choose where to place the chart. As I've already selected my table range, that cell reference has been automatically inserted into the table range field at the top. Next, you can choose to place the chart in a new worksheet or into an existing one. I'll click the radio button next to existing worksheet. I'd like the chart placed in this worksheet. To do this, I'll click the up arrow button on the right of the location field. Select this worksheet tab at the bottom left, then select cell A8 where I'd like it placed. Press the Enter key to expand the window. Then click the OK button at the bottom to create the pivot chart. Note that when you create a pivot chart from scratch, a pivot table will also automatically be inserted. You can specify the fields to be included in the pivot table by going to the Pivot Chart Fields side pane and clicking and dragging the relevant fields into the relevant areas below. Note that updating a pivot table will automatically update the pivot chart and vice versa. I'll go to the bottom left and switch to the Delivery Centers Worksheet tab. Let's look at how you can insert a pivot chart from an already inserted pivot table. With your pivot table activated, switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab, and on the right of the ribbon within the Tools group, select the Pivot Chart button. An Insert Chart window opens. On the left is a list of various chart categories, and at the top center are variant styles for the selected chart type. Currently, the chart type column is selected. At the top, hover over a style to preview it. I'm happy with the current clustered column chart selection, so I'll click the OK button at the bottom right. And a pivot chart has now been inserted. Note that the pivot table's fields have been transferred to the pivot chart. However, also note the areas for pivot charts differ. At the bottom of the Pivot Chart Field side pane, there's a Filters, Legend, Axis and Values area. And if we look at the chart itself, we can see the item code serving as the legend. Delivery Center is being displayed on the X-axis, and the sum of order value represents the Y-axis values. You can move a pivot chart like normal. Simply click and drag the chart area to move it to a new location. Also resize the chart by clicking and dragging one of the outer handles outwards to increase or inwards to decrease its size. Note also that when a pivot chart is selected, the contextual Pivot Chart Analyze, Design and Format tabs appear on the Tools ribbon. You can display more or less information about the chart using the Expand Collapse feature. To expand, I'll for example right-click on the X-axis headings, and in the menu hover over Expand Collapse. In the side menu I can expand, collapse, expand entire field or collapse entire field. I'll select Expand Entire Field, and a Show Detail window opens. From here, choose the field you want to show. So I'll select VAT, then click the OK button at the bottom. The VAT value now appears in the X-axis of the chart as well as in the pivot table. To collapse this field, right-click on the X-axis again. Hover over Expand Collapse, and in the side menu select Collapse Entire Field. And the VAT value no longer displays. This has been an overview on inserting a pivot chart in Excel. All the standard Excel 365 chart tools can be used to modify and format pivot charts. You can change the chart type without recreating the pivot table. apply different chart styles and layouts, and customize individual chart elements using the formatting tools. In this video, you'll explore how to modify a pivot chart in Excel. You can change the chart type without having to recreate the entire table. To do this, right-click on the pivot chart, and from the shortcut menu, select the option Change Chart Type. A Change Chart Type dialog box then opens, and from here you can update your chart type. From the list of chart types on the left, I'll select Bar. A list of bar chart types displays at the top center. The option Clustered Bar is selected. I'm happy with this selection, so I'll click the OK button at the bottom right. Alternatively, you can also access this window by switching to the Pivot Chart Contextual Design tab. And on the right of the ribbon in the Type group, you also have the Change Chart Type button. Also available in the center of this ribbon is the Chart Styles group, where you can apply different preset chart styles. If you hover over a style option, you'll then be able to see a preview of it applied to your chart. I'll select the Chart Style 5 option to apply it. On the left of the Chart Styles group is a Change Colors button. Click this, and in the drop-down menu, you can apply a colorful or monochromatic color scheme to your chart. I'll apply the Colorful Palette 4 to my chart. On the left of the Design tab is the Chart Layouts group, where you'll find the Quick Layout button. Click this, and in the drop-down menu, you can change the combination of elements that get displayed by choosing a layout option. I'll select Layout 7. You can also change the chart elements manually by clicking the Chart Elements button, displayed as a green plus icon at the top right of the chart. A Chart Elements menu opens to the right, with a list of elements that you can add or remove from your chart by checking or unchecking their boxes. Click Away to close this menu. Alternatively, from the Chart Layouts group, you can click the Add Chart Element button to open a drop-down menu containing all the chart elements, and from here you can add or remove elements from your chart. You can further customize individual chart elements by first switching to the Pivot Chart Format Contextual tab. Then in your chart, select the element you want to edit. So I'll select the bars representing the XHY2X series. With an element selected, you can then use the various formatting options in the Shape Styles group to make changes to it. You can apply a preset shape style, adjust the shape fill, shape outline, and even apply shape effects. For example, I'll expand the Shape Styles gallery by clicking the More button on the right of the menu, and select the option Subtle Effect Green to apply it to my selected element. You can access more advanced customization options by clicking the Shape dialog box launcher button at the bottom right corner of the Shape Styles group. This then opens a Format Data Series side pane on the right. In this pane, you can update the fill and line of the element, apply effects, and update series options. Close this pane by clicking the X icon at the top right. Knowing how to modify your pivot chart can not only improve its appearance, but also make its data easier to interpret. This has been an overview on modifying a pivot chart in Excel. Excel 365's pivot tables can be sorted to rearrange the order of the data values you are analyzing. You can use the automatic sorting tools, drag and drop labels, and sort data by value. In this video, you'll discover how to sort pivot table data in Excel. When you create a pivot table with columns or rows, automatic sorting options will also be inserted. For example, if I click the arrow button beside row labels, a menu opens with options to sort from oldest to newest or newest to oldest. Click Away to close this. Similarly, if I click the arrow button beside column labels, In the menu are options to sort alphabetically from A to Z or Z to A. Note that these sorting options vary depending on the data in the field. You can also right-click on a pivot table value, for example this date value in cell A7, and in the shortcut menu hover over the option Sort. In the side menu is the same auto sort options as shown earlier. Click Away to close this. You can also manually change the sort order of values in a pivot table. To do this, first select a cell, then hover over the outer perimeter of it. When the Move cursor appears, click and drag the cell up or down the table. Alternatively, you could right-click a value. In the shortcut menu, hover over the option Move, and in the side menu, select either Move to Beginning, Move Up, Down, End, or Move to Columns. Click Away to close this. Excel offers extra custom sorting options. To access these options, you can right-click a table value, hover over the option Sort, and in the side menu, select More Sort options. Or alternatively, you can click the arrow button in a row or column labeled cell, and in the menu, click on More Sort options. A sort dialog box then opens, which you can use to specify the sort options as either manual, ascending from A to Z, or descending from Z to A. For example, if I select the option descending by clicking the radio button next to it, then open its drop-down menu, here you can choose which field to sort by. Similar options are also available if ascending is chosen. I'll select the option Purchase Date. Before clicking the OK button, you can read the summary at the bottom to ensure you've the correct settings applied. As you can see here, Excel will sort the purchase date values in descending order. Click the OK button to apply the sorting options. This has been an overview on sorting data in a pivot table in Excel. The values in an Excel 365 pivot table can be filtered in many different ways depending on the data you are working with. You can use the standard filter tools to show or hide particular values, select and hide groups of values, and even define a field that will serve as the filter when setting up your pivot table. In this video, you'll explore how to filter pivot table data in Excel. With the pivot table activated, from the pivot table side pane, you can filter a table according to a specific field. To do this, click and drag a field, for example the purchase type field, into the filters area below. The purchase type filter has now been added to my pivot table. Click the arrow button on the right of the purchase type filter cell to open the filter menu. From here, you can use the search field to search for a specific term, or select one of the options from the list. For example, I'll select the option Bathroom. Then click the OK button at the bottom to apply the filter. With this applied, only bathroom sales are now being displayed in the table. You can also apply multiple filters. Click the arrow button again to open the filter menu. At the bottom, check the box next to select multiple items, and then choose your combination of filters from the list above. I'll select Kitchen, then click the OK button. And now only kitchen and bathroom sales are shown. To clear the filtering applied, open the filter menu, and check the box next to All at the top of the list. Once again, click the OK button to apply the changes. You can also apply filtering to row and column labels. Click the arrow button beside a label name, and at the bottom of the menu is a filter list, where you can check or uncheck the options you want to show or hide. So I'll uncheck the boxes next to the 24th and 21st of June date values. Then click the OK button at the bottom, and those dates are now hidden. You can combine column and row filters. Click the arrow button next to column labels. And from the list at the bottom of the menu, I'll uncheck the box next to Home Service. Then click the OK button. The Home Service values are now hidden in the table. As indicated by the filtering icon that appears in the column and row label buttons, filtering has been successfully applied to both the columns and rows. Combining filters allows you to focus and analyze on specific data series within your table. To clear the column label filtering, reopen the Filter menu and select the option Clear Filter From. And I'll also reopen the Row Labels filter menu and select the option Clear Filter From. Next, let's look at how you can filter according to selected values. In pivot tables, you can choose to keep only selected values, rather than manually filtering individual values via field or row filters. To do this, first select the data range. I'll, for example, select the cell range A5 to E16. Then right-click over the range, and in the shortcut menu, hover over the option Filter. In the side menu, you can choose to either keep or hide selected items. I'll select the option Keep Only Selected Items. My pivot table data reduces to now only show the selected cell range. To clear this filtering, right-click the table, hover over the option Filter, and in the side menu, select Clear Filter From. This has been an overview on filtering your pivot table data in Excel. In an Excel 365 pivot table, if you want to work with data from different sources, you'll need to add these to the data model in a workbook. Once this is done, you can create, edit, and manage the relationships between fields to get the data values working together. In this video, you'll explore how to work with multiple data tables for a pivot table in Excel. A data model allows you to pull data from multiple tables, essentially building a relational data source inside an Excel workbook. First, let's look at how to add a data table to the data model when creating a pivot table from scratch. This is handy to know if you plan on using multiple data sources later. To do this, first switch to the Insert tab. In the Tables group on the far left of the ribbon, click the Pivot Table button. A pivot table from Table or Range window opens. At the bottom, check the box next to Add this data to the data model. With this activated, the table will be added to the data model once the pivot table has been created. You then click the OK button at the bottom right to save this. But for now, I'll click the Cancel button at the bottom to close this window. Let's look at how we can add a new data source to an existing pivot table. I'll click the Sheet 3 Worksheet tab at the bottom left. As you can see, I've already a pivot table inserted here. However, this pivot table is currently pulling data from a single source, the worksheet titled Orders. I also want to reference data from the Location worksheet as well. To do this, add a new table to the data model. From the Pivot Table field side pane on the right, scroll to the bottom of the field list and select the option More Tables. This then copies the existing pivot table using the data model. A confirmation notification also displays asking to confirm that you want to create a new pivot table. To continue, click the Yes button. And a new worksheet named Sheet 1 has been added to this workbook with a pivot table. In the Pivot Table field side pane, the new pivot table has two data sources, Location and Orders. Also note the new tabs that appear at the top of the side pane, Active and All. Switch to the All tab, and from here you can reference a data source from the second table. First, select the data table, such as Location, from the field list to expand it. Then click and drag one of the fields to the below areas. I'll drag the State field to the Filters area. When you add sources from multiple tables, an alert will appear in the side pane, informing you that relationships between tables may be needed. You can select Auto Detect or Create. If I click the Auto Detect button, a window opens that displays a summary of which relationships Excel has detected. As you can see, one relationship has been successfully created. Click the Manage Relationships button at the bottom right, and a Manage Relationship window opens, where you can see that the relationship found between the two tables was for Delivery Center. Click the Close button at the bottom right to return to the workbook. As you can see, we've successfully sourced a second table in our pivot table. We can now apply filters based on state because Excel detected a relationship between these worksheets. It's also important to know how to verify the relationships between data sources in the data model. To visualize relationships in the data model, switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. On the right of the ribbon within the Calculations group, click the Relationships button. This then opens the Manage Relationships window shown earlier. Here you can verify the table, which is Orders, its related lookup table, which is Location, and their related fields indicated by the value within brackets, which is Delivery Center. Various actions can be performed on the related data using the buttons New, Auto Detect, Edit, Deactivate, and Delete at the top right. I'll select the relational data entry, then click the Delete button to delete this relationship, so we can look at recreating it manually. In the pop-up notification, click the OK button to confirm the deletion. Then to create a new one manually, click the New button. In the Create Relationship window, click the Table drop-down, and I'll select the table Orders. Below, click the Related Table drop-down, and I'll choose Location. Then at the top right, click the Column drop-down, and choose the column we'll be creating a relationship from, which is Delivery Center. Below, Excel auto-detects the related column, which is again Delivery Centers. Click the OK button at the bottom right to finish creating the relationship. Then click the Close button at the bottom of the Manage Relationships window to return to the worksheet. This has been an overview on working with multiple pivot table data tables in Excel. Once you know how to create a pivot table and add fields to it, you can begin analyzing your data to look for trends. This entails knowing how to organize your fields appropriately, add levels of detail to drill into data, and insert multiple value fields in a single table. In this video, you'll explore how to analyze pivot table data in Excel. I've a pivot table already created, but haven't added any fields yet. Let's look at how to use pivot tables to find trends in your data. To do so, go to the pivot table side pane on the right, and from the field list, I'll for example drag the item code field to the row area below. Then I'll click and drag the Delivery Center field to the column area. Next, we need to build out the data by populating the values area. I'll drag the order value field to the values area. Doing this has now provided a new point of analysis within the table. The rows display the order item while the column displays the location. The grand total row now contains the sum of all values in each column. This is how pivot tables allow you to find trends. Next, let's look at how we can further analyze the data. For example, I'll remove Delivery Center from the column area by clicking and dragging it out of the columns area and back into the fields list. And I'll then drag the order date field to the row area. Note how in the pivot table, a month grouping has been automatically applied. The row labels column now lists 2 month values, January and February. You can expand the field for each month by clicking the plus icon beside the month name. You can then see each day an order was placed and what was ordered on a given day. You can also collapse specific levels of detail by right-clicking on a value. In the shortcut menu, hover over Expand Collapse. And from the side menu, select the option Collapse. And the values under that order date are now hidden. We can further drill into specific data values. For example, if you wanted to view all values that correspond to a particular item code on a specified date, simply double-click at the intersection of the order date and item code within the pivot table. This then creates a new worksheet with a data table and corresponding data entries to the chosen field values only. This is useful for working with data values from a pivot table report. I'll return to the pivot table by clicking the PT1 worksheet tab at the bottom left. Let's look at how to add multiple values to the report. Currently, the only values being displayed here are for order values. The calculation being performed on these is sum, which is why the pivot table displays a total value at the top. I'll add another value by dragging the orders field to the values area. So now the number of orders made for each item is shown in column C of the table. Note that the calculation being performed here by default is count. So we now know that there are 31 orders placed in January. If I drag the quantity field to the values area, a sum of quantity column has been added, which calculates the sum of all order quantities for each month. As you can see, knowing how to organize your fields correctly and add multiple value fields, you can analyze the data in your pivot table with greater control and ease. This has been an overview on analyzing data in a pivot table in Excel. In Excel 365, you can pull in data from external sources, such as a Microsoft Access database, and analyze it in a pivot table. This allows you to reuse data and take advantage of field relationships that already exist in the database. In this video, you'll explore how to analyze database tables in a pivot table in Excel. First, let's look at the data in the Microsoft Access file itself. Here, the various tables that make up the database are listed in a side pane on the left. Note also that there's a relationship between all of the tables within the database. Now let's look at importing a database with Excel. I'll close this Access file by clicking the X icon at the top right. Then I'll click the Excel taskbar icon to open a new blank Excel workbook. In Excel, switch to the Data tab. On the far left of the ribbon in the Get and Transform Data group, click the Get Data button. From the Get Data menu, you can import data from a file, database, Azure, Power BI, online, or other sources. Because we're importing from an Access file, hover over the option From Database. And from the side menu, select the option From Microsoft Access Database. An Import Data File Explorer dialog box opens. From here, we need to find the Access file. I've saved it to my desktop. So from the list on the left, I'll click the desktop folder. Select the Access file, then click the Import button at the bottom right. This will open a navigator window. From the list on the left, we can choose which tables from the Access database to import. If you want to import multiple items, at the top left corner, check the box next to Select Multiple Items. Checkboxes now appear next to each table in the list. I'd like to import the Customers and Orders table, so I'll check the boxes next to those. Note that a preview of the data is now shown on the right. With the tables selected, click the Load button at the bottom right. Once loaded, the tables will appear in the Queries and Connections side panel on the right. At the top are two tabs, Queries and Connections. With the Queries tab selected, here we can see the two tables, Customers and Orders. Switch to the Connections tab, and here we can see the data model for this workbook. To create a pivot table from this, first switch to the Insert tab. From the Tables group on the left of the ribbon, click the Pivot Tables drop-down button. And from the menu, select the option From Data Model. A pivot table from Data Model window opens. Here choose where to place the pivot table, in a new worksheet or in an existing one. Because I have a blank worksheet open, I'll leave the option Existing Worksheet selected. Then click the OK button at the bottom right. A pivot table field side pane opens on the right, and a blank pivot table has been inserted into this worksheet. With the All tab selected in the Pivot Table Fields pane, we can see the two imported tables listed here. If relationships existed between data sources in an Access file, we can also visualize them here in Excel. Switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. From the Calculations group on the right, click the Relationships button. A Manage Relationship window opens where we can see the two tables, orders and customers, and within parentheses we can see the relationship between them, customer reference and customer ID. Using the New and Edit buttons at the top right of this window, you can modify or create a new relationship if you wished. Close this window by clicking the Close button at the bottom right. Next, we need to insert the fields from the data model that we'd like to include in the pivot table. From the All tab of the Fields side pane, expand a table by clicking on it in the Fields list. I'll click on Customers. Then, for example, I'll drag the Customer ID field down to the Rows area. And that field's data has now been added to the pivot table. This has been an overview on analyzing your database tables in a pivot table in Excel. When using pivot tables, you can adjust how you work with values in Excel by changing the summary calculation or applying a comparison. When comparing pivot table values and totals, you can visualize data ranked as a percentage or as a difference. In this video, you'll explore how to compare values in a pivot table in Excel. To begin editing a value field, go to the Pivot Table Fields side pane, and from the Areas section, click the arrow next to a field. I'll click the arrow next to Sum of Order Value, and from the menu, select the option Value Field Settings. A Value Field Settings window opens. The Summarize Values by tab is selected, and here we can see by default the summary calculation for values is Sum. From this tab's list we can change this. For example, let's select the option Average. At the top, also note that the customer name will automatically change from Sum of Order Value to Average of Order Value. For this demonstration, I'll change the calculation back to Sum. Then at the bottom left corner, click the Number Format button. A Format Cells window opens, and from here we can set a specific numerical type for this calculation. On the left is a category list where currency is currently selected, and on the right are the configuration options associated with the selected category. As I'm working with sales data, I'll leave it set to the default currency category and click the OK button at the bottom right to return to the Value Field Settings window. Switch to the Show Values As tab, and next let's look at adding a comparison to the pivot table. In the Show Values As drop-down, currently the option No Calculation is chosen. Click this drop-down, and from the menu we can make comparisons based on the percentage of the grand total, column total or row total, etc. I'll select percentage of grand total, then click the OK button at the bottom right. As you can see, our values are now being visualized as their respective percentages of the grand total. That's why the last cell in the table says 100%. Another way to access the value settings options is by right-clicking on a cell in the pivot table. In the shortcut menu, hover over Summarize Values By, and in the side menu, you've options to change the calculation used. Hover over Show Values As, and in this side menu, you can change the aspect of comparison. We can also make custom value comparisons. Right-click on a value in the pivot table, and in the shortcut menu, select Value Field Settings. From the Value Field Settings window, switch to the Show Values As tab. Click the Show Values As drop-down and select the option Percentage of. Below, the base field and base item list then become available. From the base field list on the left, I'll select Delivery Center. To the right, we then need to choose the base item, which is used as the basis of comparison. For example, let's choose Denver. Then click the OK button at the bottom right. In the pivot table, we can now compare each location's order plus VAT based on percentage. Because we selected Denver as the base item, its values now appear as 100%. With this in mind, we can now compare the figures from other locations and gauge the difference. This has been an overview on comparing values in a pivot table in Excel. Within Excel 365, the Timeline tool is a great way to work with dates in your pivot table. It's dynamic and, like a slicer, gives you a clear visual of how you are working with your data and what gets displayed. In this video, you'll learn how to use the Timeline tool with pivot tables in Excel. Before we start, it's important to note that for the Timeline tool to be functional, you must have date values in your pivot table. With the table activated, switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. In the center of the ribbon within the Filter group, click the Insert Timeline button. An Insert Timelines window opens, and the timeline field Purchase Date is listed here. Select it by checking the box next to it. Then click the OK button at the bottom. A purchase date timeline now displays in the worksheet. We can then move and resize it like any other object. I'll click and drag it to the right of the worksheet, and make it bigger by clicking and dragging the outer perimeter handle outwards. With the timeline selected, a Timeline tab opens on the Tools ribbon. From this tab, we can further customize the timeline. On the far left of the ribbon is a timeline group, where we can update the timeline caption. Click inside this field, and I'll change this to just date. Then press the Enter key to apply the change. To the right is a Timeline Styles group, with a menu of preset style options you can apply. Click the More button on the right of the menu to display the full gallery of options. From the dark category, I'll apply this light orange style option. On the right in the Size group, you can manually adjust the height and width of the timeline. And on the far right in the Show group, you can choose to show or hide the header, scroll bar, selection label, and time level. For example, I'll uncheck the box next to scroll bar, and that's now been removed from the bottom of the timeline. I'll recheck the scroll bar box. Next, let's look at how you can interact with the timeline. As you can see, we've a timeline based on the dates items were purchased. To select a period of time you'd like to isolate, you can drag the scroll bar at the bottom right or left to navigate through the months. Then select a month you want to isolate. So I'll select June. And now in the pivot table, only orders purchased in the month of June are shown. At the top left of the timeline is the selection label, where you can see the time period currently chosen. We can also extend the selection to, for example, include the months March, April and May by clicking and dragging the time bar handle to the left. And at the top left, the selection label has updated to now include the new selected months. We can also change the time level. At the top right, the current time level is months. Click the arrow button next to this to open a menu with the time options years, quarters, months, and days. Note that these options will vary depending on the type of data in use. I'll, for example, change the time level to quarters. And note that the time bar in the timeline updates to now show quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 instead of months. To clear the timeline filtering applied, click the Clear Filter button at the top right of the timeline. To remove a timeline from a pivot table, select the timeline, and then press the Delete key on your keyboard. This has been an overview on using the timeline in Excel. A useful way of sorting and organizing data in Excel pivot tables is to create data groups. You can, for example, group your data by month, year, or category. You can also choose to temporarily hide data that is not required, helping you to concentrate on what matters in your table. In this video, you'll explore how to group pivot table data in Excel. As you can see, I've already created a pivot table where the purchase date values are in the rows and the purchase type values are in the columns. First, let's look at grouping a selection manually, which can be useful if you're looking to group text values. Start by selecting the data you want to group. So I'll select the cell range A5 to F13. Then switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. And from the Group toolset on the left, click the Group Selection button. As you can see, the selected range has now been grouped under the heading Group 1. For this demonstration, I'll quickly undo this action using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl and the letter Z. Next, let's look at how to automatically group data values. If you're working with dates or numerical data, in the Group toolset, you can use the Group Field button to automatically group data values. To do this, first select a cell you'd like to incorporate into a group. I'll select cell A5, then click the Group Field button. A grouping dialog box then opens, and from here you can configure how you want your values grouped. At the top of the grouping window, if the range that was chosen consists of date values, you can specify a start and end date using the fields to the right. And below we can specify subsets of groupings by choosing categories within the By field. Currently, months is chosen. If desired, you can select more than one subset within the By field to create a subset with multiple groupings. So I'll select days from the list. At the bottom right, you can now also specify the number of days using the field. To group the values into months and days, click the OK button at the bottom. As you can see in the table, we've successfully created groups for the different months, and then subgroups for each day. We can hide groups by clicking the minus icon that appears beside a month. For example, the month of January, and the day subgroup for January is now hidden. To show the group again, click the plus icon next to January. From the Pivot Table Analyze tab in the Active Field group on the left, we can also expand or collapse all groups. Click on the Collapse Field button to collapse all the fields, and then click the Expand Field button to show all the fields again. If we double-click a value within a group, a Show Detail window opens where we can specify which field we'd like to show detail for. If you choose a field, it'll add groupings with the selected data. For example, if we select City, then click the OK button, the city for the selected date has been added as a new level within the group. To clear a group from the table, first select the group. Then from the Group toolset, click the Ungroup button, and the Months Group filter is no longer applied to the table. Alternatively, we can also ungroup fields by right-clicking on a value, and from the shortcut menu, select the option Ungroup. This has been an overview on grouping data in a pivot table in Excel. Inserting calculated items and fields based on data that's already in a pivot table is useful if the calculations you wish to perform are not in the source data table. In this video, you'll explore how to add calculated pivot table items and fields in Excel. As you can see, I've a pivot table already created and activated. In the rows are the order locations, while the item codes are displayed in the columns, and the values being referenced are sum of order value plus VAT. For example, if I want to calculate a bonus for each order over $20,000, I can do this using calculated fields. With the table selected, switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. On the right of the ribbon within the Calculations group, click the Fields, Items and Sets button, and from the drop-down menu, select Calculated Field. An Insert Calculated Field window opens. At the top is a name and formula field. First, let's update the name. Click on the name field and let's change this to Order Bonus. Next, we need to specify the formula in the formula field. I'll be using the if-then-else formula. Like all formulas, they must begin with an equal sign. And because our formula is dependent upon a value being over $20,000, we should then insert the text if, followed by an open parenthesis. We then need to reference order value plus VAT. So at the bottom left, scroll down the fields list. Select order value plus VAT, then click the Insert Field button below the list. And that's now been inserted into our formula. This is what makes calculated fields so handy. We can reference data within the pivot table without having to reference the original table. Next, insert a greater than symbol, followed by 20,000. Insert a comma and then reference order value once again. Do this by double-clicking on order value plus VAT in the fields list. We then need to multiply this by 0.1 as we want the bonus to be 10%. So insert an asterisk symbol followed by 0.1. Lastly, insert a comma followed by 0 to act as the else function in our formula. Then close off the parenthesis. To add the calculated field, click the Add button at the top right. To return to the worksheet, click the OK button at the bottom right. As you can see, our calculated field has been added to the values area in the Pivot Table Fields side pane, and our table has also been updated. If we look at a figure larger than 20,000, for example in cell D8, we can see the correct bonus figure to the right of it, meaning our calculation has been performed successfully. You can still edit a calculated field after it's been added to a pivot table. From the Pivot Table Analyze tab in the Calculations group, click the Fields, Items and Sets button, and from the menu select Calculated Field. The Insert Calculated Field window opens. To edit a calculated field, go to the Name field and click the drop-down button. From the menu, I'll select the Order Bonus field name. With this selected, we can make changes in the formula field below, and then click the Modify button at the top right to save those changes. To delete this field, click the Delete button at the top right. To save this change and close the window, click the OK button at the bottom. This has been an overview on using calculations in a pivot table in Excel. While you can create interactive data analysis with pivot tables to quickly summarize large amounts of data, you won't be able to answer questions about your data effectively if a pivot table contains errors or problems. In this video, you'll explore how to troubleshoot common pivot table issues in Excel. As seen here, the pivot table error field name is not valid usually occurs if one or more of the heading cells in the source data is blank. Close the error message by clicking the OK button. You can follow several steps to troubleshoot this problem. From the Insert tab within the Tables group on the left of the ribbon, click the Pivot Table button. A pivot table from Table or Range window opens. In the Table Range field at the top, check the cell selection to make sure that you haven't selected blank columns beside the data table. Close this by clicking the Cancel button at the bottom right. Another cause of this error may be that your cell selection contains hidden columns. To unhide columns, click the Select All button at the top left corner of the worksheet. Then right-click on any column heading and from the shortcut menu select Unhide. You can then try creating your pivot table again. Another cause of this error is if there's column headings missing or if there's columns that have headers but no values in their cells. Be sure to check that all the cells in your cell selection contain values and aren't empty. For example, here in cell F1, this column doesn't have any value in its header cell. So I'll click on this and type in the heading quantity. Merge cells in the heading row can also cause the error. In this worksheet, you can see that cells C1 and D1 are merged. And if I select this cell in the formula bar above the worksheet, you can see that the heading first name is overlapping the blank cell beside it. To unmerge them, select the cell, switch to the Home tab, and from the alignment group on the left of the ribbon, click the Merge and Center button. Those two cells have now been separated. Cell D1 is now empty, so I'll click on that and type in a heading for this column. At the bottom left, I'll switch to the PT1 Worksheet tab. You may also receive the error message, a pivot table report cannot overlap another pivot table report. This will appear if pivot tables are on the same worksheet and there's not enough blank space for one of the pivot tables to expand for new data. For example, here in this worksheet, I've two pivot tables next to each other. If I try to add another column to the table on the left, by going to the Field side pane and click and drag a field to the columns area, the error message, a pivot table report cannot overlap another pivot report displays. Click the OK button to close the message. You need to find and fix the problematic pivot table or its source data by navigating to the respective pivot tables and check them for overlaps. As my tables are right next to each other, there's no room for the table on the left to expand. To fix this issue, I need to move the table on the right. I'll click on a cell in the second pivot table to select it. Then switch to the Pivot Table Analyze tab. In the center of the ribbon, click the Actions button, and from the drop-down menu, select Move Pivot Table. A Move Pivot Table dialog box opens. Here, you can choose to move the table to a new worksheet or into an existing one. I want to keep the table in this worksheet, so I'll leave Existing Worksheet selected. Then below in the Location field, choose the cell you'd like to move the table to. Delete the cell range currently in this field. Then from the worksheet, I'll move the table to cell I3. Then click the OK button at the bottom. The second table has now moved further to the right on the worksheet, giving more space for data to be added to the left table. This has been an overview on troubleshooting issues with pivot tables in Excel.